how we can tackle how we can advocate human rights from the lens of from children, from the children angle. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you, Mary Rose. So just a couple of orientation updates. We are planning to live stream to YouTube, so we'll have that link available. I'll plan to paste it in the chat. And we are awaiting Nightingale's arrival. She'll be doing the welcome and grounding officially. So maybe Nse, if we can check if your audio is strong and welcome you.
Sure. Hey, hi there, everyone. Insay Witherspoon, Executive Director of the Children's Environmental Health Network. Looking forward to being here and talking a little bit more after Mary Rose, and also here trying to represent the Global Children's Environmental Health Network, a growing movement internationally of advocates, researchers, students, those working on child protective policies, healthcare professionals that all want a space where we can share ideas and best practices and support each other. So looking forward to today's conversation. Thank you.
Wonderful. Welcome, Nse. So let me just see. Nightingale, how is the audio on your side? And checking if you're ready to take over.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to be here, and I do apologize because it's taken me a few minutes to join in, but I'm very glad to see all of you here. So my name is Nightingale, and I am one of the team members of ACOFI, and by my background, my academic background, my professional background, I am a registered nurse and also a One Health practitioner. And definitely, just like we are talking today, we really do center children, and we just don't even have a choice. But I know it's 6 minutes into the session. And Nathan, have we done anything grounding? Have we grounded ourselves? Well, I know we did do the introductions.
You just did some brief introductions. We can invite everyone to say your name and where you're from and anything else you'd like to share in the chat, but we're waiting for you, Knight, to ground us.
Okay, thank you. So I would just like to invite all of us to take a moment and think about ourselves as much as we can when we were small, when we were children, and the spaces that meant so much to us. And then fast forward and think about the people that have been stewards of these spaces where we live now, where you find yourself, and just take a moment of gratitude, because it would be good to just ground ourselves and bring out the children in all of us. And I also do want to thank Fathili and Rahema for being here. Those are the two children that I am sure are here, and also the other children that are here that I don't know about. So I'll just ask us to take just a few seconds of silence and think about that, just grounding ourselves. Thank you very much for that. And I think from here on, Nathan, like you had invited everyone, if you can take a moment and introduce yourself, who you are, where you find yourself at this point in time, and anything else you would like to share about yourself. Yes.
Thanks, Nightingale.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone for sharing this virtual space with us together. We are really excited to celebrate Children's Environmental Health Day, even if it's virtually. What we're hoping we can do is share more about where we are, who we are, what we do, and somehow our dreams, our ideas for how we can stay connected, because to me, this day is very special because it's a day that inherently reflects diversity, combining children and the environment and health. These are all profoundly important areas, but to my knowledge, there is no comparable day in the whole calendar year. And so to me, this is a very exciting day to find who it is that is stepping up, stepping forward, and hopefully interested in remaining connected so that we build a powerful foundation to make it so that we do right by children, we do right by the environment, and we do right by health. So I'm coming to you from California, not far from Kitty, in a place called Croondale. And I am professionally a physician, pediatrician, caring for children. And to me, that's inherently and necessarily means considering and advocating for the environment as well. So I'm really excited to connect with you all and looking forward to seeing how we can learn and grow, build and share together. Back to you, Nick.
All right. Yeah. So thank you, Nathan. I do want to just make a mention that I am sitting outside and there's an active, there's a bird that's speaking a lot. So hopefully that's no problem. And it's a part of us, it's a part of nature. So I think I would like to just really quickly, I think it's important to just, as we wait for people to share their information, in chat, I want to do my best and give a shout out to the people and where I think they come from. I know we have Nse. I'm just going to go by how I see my screen. Nathan, you already introduced us. We have Nse. I think you're in the DC area.
Yes.
Yeah. We have Kitty is in California. Mary Rose. I don't know where you are now. Either Nigeria or
Ireland.
Ireland. Then we have James Olekisier. Good to see you. Good to see the animals behind you. That's health, One Health for sure. And we have Matindi. Matindi is in Nairobi. We have Simon Masago. I'm not sure where you are from, but I just...
Yeah. I'm Simon Masago from Masai Mara, Director for Habitat Watchers.
Awesome. Thank you for being here. And hi to the little one with Simon. Thank you for coming. And then we have Dennis Ciro. Dennis is from Rusinga Island. Good to see you, Dennis. We have Athili and Rahema. Those are kids that are related to me. Good to see you guys. And Mumbi, Nabil Agesa, Mombasa. Thank you, Nabil. Nabil just did an event yesterday with children in Masai Mara region, and they did a cleanup event that was connected to the event today because they have a market day today, so they couldn't have the event today. So Nabil, thank you, and shout out to you and the children and everybody that was involved. Triza Auma, she's in Mombasa. Thank you, Triza. She's doing amazing things with elders and people living with disabilities. Thanks for coming. We have Caroline Kawera. Caroline, I'm not sure where she's located right now. She is country lead of a coffee. She might be in the Netherlands. Thank you for joining. I think we have Amanda. Thanks, Amanda, for joining. Amanda in South Africa. She's moving and shaking with children in South Africa. And Angera Aquare. I'm glad to have you, but I don't know where you're coming in from. My son Kipila, thank you for coming. He's a young Maasai boy. He's part of the coffee, and Gladwell and Joki Karaoke. Thank you. I just wanted to do a shout out and say thank you to everyone. If you can just post on chat so that we know where you're coming from. And hi, Diana. Thanks for coming. If I missed you, please just do a shout out and let us know. But I want to now just go and move on to the next thing. And just, I don't know if my son, you are in a position to give us an overview of the events today. If you are, please come in, join us and please share. If not, I will be happy to do that. Okay, so I will just do a quick run of how our events are going to be, and if Nathan, you're able to just post it on chat. So we just grounded ourselves, and we're in the process of introducing ourselves in chat. Thank you, everyone. And then after this, we're going to have presentations. We're going to have 2 presenters that will be introduced here shortly. And after that, we will have question and answer session with the speakers. So the speakers will speak, and then we will ask them the questions afterwards. And then after that, we will have an interactive discussion and idea sharing. So this will also then lead to also like updates and stuff like that. And then we will conclude with action points and next steps. So yes, that's where we are at. I think from here, I want to check on you, my son, again. Are you, okay, Nathan has shared what the agenda is, if you want to look at it in chat. My son, are you there? All right. So I will now move on. Okay, yeah, thank you. I will now move on to the next thing, which is welcoming and
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
Thank you, my son. Just come on.
yeah, thank you very much, Nightingale, and for everyone who's joined the meeting, and I'm hope that we are expecting a few other people to join. So, like what Night says, my name is Mason Kipila. I work for AFI, that is African Community of Planetary Health. And I think the agenda has been posted in the chat. So I'm here to just give an overview of what Children's Environmental Health Day means. So, like, you know, it is a day dedicated to raising awareness about the unique environmental health risks children face
Mason, are you there? We cannot hear you now.
For children, children's environmental health day represent the recognition of their rights to grow up in environments free from these harm. It empowers them to advocate for cleaner, safer spaces and emphasizes the need for their health to be, prioritized in environmental policy decisions. For communities, calls for collective action to address local environmental challenges that affect children's health, encouraging sustainable practices that promote long-term well-being. So, like we have had on-site activities going on. For example, Akofi hosted an event in a place called Kamangu in Kiambu County with several schools and community members. We also had Friends of Creation, which did an incredible thing. I was there personally. They held 2 activities. That is in a school called Umoja Primary School, and as well as a Limuru Children's Home. So these tells and this shows how much committed these people are to actually, empower the children so that they can step up as stewards of a healthier and a safer environment. Otherwise, I want to thank you and
Mason? Mason, we don't hear you, but I think maybe I can take over from here. And you can conclude when you get back. But thank you for that share, and we will talk more about that. We will quite likely hear from some of the people who are at these events. For now, I would like to go ahead and introduce our first speaker, who is Mary Rose Idu, who's coming in from, she will tell us more about where she's coming in from. I know she's she hails from somewhere in Nigeria. Again, Mary Rose, you'll tell us a little bit more about that. But Mary Rose is a recent LLM graduate from the University of Galway, where she graduated with 1H in international human rights. And Mary Rose has a robust knowledge of law and the application of law, as she has been a legal practitioner, or was a legal practitioner even before moving to Ireland. So Mary Rose is quite enthusiastic in advocacy and enforcement of human rights, and this includes the rights of nature and the rights of children. So Mary Rose, please do feel welcome to take the stage, and thank you for coming.
Thank you so much, Nice. Thank you so much for everyone that is present today. Thank you, Nathan, for reaching out that I should have a spot or a slot to be able to share my knowledge on human rights as it relates to children and the environment. I really appreciate. As we'll be going forward. Before I go forward, well, I'm from Yache. It's a small tribe in Nigeria that some Nigerians don't know exists. But I'm from Yache in Cross River State, Nigeria, and I'll be talking about one moment. Let me try to share my screen. Can we see, please?
No.
Not yet.
Okay, you can. Not yet. All right. Thank you. Right. Can we
Now
now
it's-
see the screen?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I'll be. Sorry.
We can
So I'll be
see it
talking
now.
about. Thank you. Thank you, Simon. So I'll be talking about the rights of children to a healthy environment. Now, the rights of children to a healthy environment is a very complex topic because it is an intersection of it's not a singular right, it's a combination of the rights of children and also the right to a healthy environment. And before I go ahead, I would like us to have an understanding of who children are. So it depends on the state you're practicing or on the state that you are in, but generally under the United Nations CRC, children are people under the age of 18. So everybody that is under the age of 18 under international law is regarded as a child. But then when we are advocating for a healthy environment, do we only limit ourselves or do we only limit this advocacy to children or people that are under the age of 18? I would say no. Why? Because most of us, if we are not children ourselves, we have people that are below the age of 18, either as children or as our friends or as our neighbors, and they're entitled to the right to a healthy environment. And if you do not have children yourself, there's a possibility or there's a high chance that you'd have children in the future. So every activity that goes on in the environment that affects the environment adversely has a likelihood of affecting the child that is not yet born, or the child that will be born in the near future, or the child that is currently existent. So the advocacy for a healthy environment should be championed not just by children, but for the benefit of children, and then we'll be able to have maximum effect. Now, in my presentation today, I will talk about the right to clean environment, to clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. This right was confirmed by the UN resolution in 2022 to say that this is a new and emerging right, and it is a universal right that everyone has the right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. Then when we come down to the right of a child, there are several rights, and I just highlighted a few on this slide, which is the right to education, right to play, right to cultural life, right rights to the freedom from torture, cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment, freedom from violence, right to the highest attainable standard of health, right to social security and adequate standard of living. Now, these rights that are highlighted here are some of the rights that climate change or a hazardous environment affects or damages. When I go further, you understand how climate change or hazardous environment has direct impact to children's rights. Now, going forward, I am not the expert on health, Knight is, but on this slide, I'm talking about the effect of environmental hazards on and climate change on the health of children. Now, from my research, I discovered that climate change and environmental hazard causes infant mortality. So children die, some even die before they are born. It also triggers asthmatic, like air pollution triggers asthmatic attack. It causes malnutrition. You may want to ask why. So the research shows that when there is excess or the rise of CO2 in the environment, it affects the quality of food that we consume. So instead of having the actual nutritional value that, say, a cereal, for instance, is supposed to give to a child, the nutritional value is reduced, and then they become malnourished. Also, climate change is known for having an adverse effect in food security, in even having food. So the drought, which is an effect of climate change, also affects the rise in the prices of food, so that people that are poor or some people that are not able to afford afford quality food suffer from malnutrition. We have children being prone to cholera and diarrhea. Then there is a report that shows and exposes that anxiety and PTSD are associated to climate change. For instance, hurricanes and flood. When children experience these things, they have traumas, that are directly associated with the effects of climate change. Also, they have long-term intellectual disability that can be associated with the effect of climate change and hazardous environments. Further research would show that there's a possibility of stroke. Children that are prone or that were exposed to environmental hazards when they were young are prone to stroke and cognitive impairment in the near future. Now, other effects of environmental hazards are displacement, famine. I talked about drought earlier, lack of education, and increased violence. So this increased violence, it could be actual violence or structural violence. Displacement. There was a time in 2022 in Nigeria when there was a huge flood. This flood was responsible for destroying several houses in Nigeria. It brought down houses in Nigeria. Also, it's people lost life. They lost their family, they lost their livestock, they lost their documents and documentation. So aside from the health effect of environmental hazards and climate change, we have other effects that I may not have highlighted or expanded on in this presentation. Now, I'm going to highlight there are four general principles under the UNCRC, and the focus of this presentation will highlight these four principles. We have the right to non-discrimination of a child. That is the first one. The second one is the best interest of a child being the primary consideration in anything that a government does or that an organization would do. Then the third one is the right to life, survival, and development. And the last one is the right to be heard. None of these has more importance than the other. If possible, it is advocated that they should have concurrent value, and that organization, individuals, governments, parastatals, and should try to apply all of them or try to enforce all of them while they are making policies. Now, the right to non-discrimination. This right emphasizes that when they are providing facilities to children, that a set of children should not have more facilities or enjoy more benefits than the rest. Now, the effect of climate change sees or witnesses and evidence more effects in poor environments, children in indigenous children and children belonging to various minorities, children with disabilities, as I have highlighted in this slide. So the government, not just government, but business owners, corporations, they are obliged under the international the UNCRC, they are obliged to ensure that while they are making policies and trying to implement those policies, they should ensure that every child is benefiting positively and equally, and and that they are not discriminated when there's the effect of emissions or of their activities. Now, the right to that's the best interest of the child, the right to this particular principle, the best interest of the child. It emphasizes that government agencies, parastatals, and corporations, when they are making policies and statements, they should ensure that the best interest of the child should be the primary consideration. So the interest of the child should be the primary consideration, not the profit the company is to make, not the status of the state or the government parastatal that is making it, but the best interest of the child should be the primary consideration. And in so doing, they are requested to ensure that impact assessment be made. How does this policy impact the lives of children? How will it affect their development? How will it affect their life? How will it affect their education? How will it affect their relationship and their survival in the environment? So even as parents or as people in the community, you may not be a member, a policy maker, or a member of parastatal. You may not even have a corporation, but as an individual, when you're taking action in the society, are you putting into consideration the best interests of the children that are around you? So that is what this particular principle, it emphasized, that whatever policies that are being made, the best interest of the child should be put into consideration, and they should ensure that the rights of children are not in any way going to be jeopardized by, such policies. Then the right to survive, to life, survival, and development. This particular principle or general principle under the UNCRC emphasizes that states are responsible to protect children from anything that would hinder their life or the full enjoyment of their life. So it may not be direct death. So the right to life is not necessarily that a person is dead or that a person is caused to die, but whatsoever will hinder a person from enjoying the fullness of their life, of attaining a full standard, a good standard of living, is a hindrance to their right to life. So the right to health is directly connected to the right to life. If a child's right is going to be in jeopardy, then that is affecting their right to life. And this a state or a corporation or a government parastatal that is responsible for putting hazardous chemical in the environment that causes a child to be sick, either to be sick or not to be able to attain a high standard of living, is responsible for posing a threat to the child's right to life. Now, the government of every state, are responsible to provide access to food, quality water, and to protect them from inhaling or ingesting negative substance that will be harmful and hazardous to their body, to their growth and their development. And I gave an example such as protection from lead and greenhouse gas emissions. So policies that are put in place and are made permitting some. So there's how they give corporation quota. You are allowed to, or states have quota of greenhouse gas emission that should be done per year or per year as it is at the moment. So when those policies are being made and negotiations are being made, are the rights of the lives of children in that environment put into consideration? It's high time we hold state into account and call them to ensure that they begin to prioritize the rights to life of children and their survival and development, in the forefront of decision making. Now, the fourth principle is the right to be heard in matters concerning children. Now, this right is multi-dimensional. So the right to be heard is the right to if a person speak or if a child speak, the child should be heard. But before a child will be able to make informed, communicate their intention, they have the right to be informed. Now we are talking about climate, environmental, Children Environmental Health Day. Do they understand what environmental health? How are we taking, not to point fingers, I'm just saying in general, but are we taking initiative to educate children? This is what the environment is. If these people do these things, if greenhouse gas emission, are allowed to a certain percentage, is going to be hazardous to you. That the human activity that is going on in this generation is going to have such impact in the next generation. Do we take positive step to inform children about these things? Now, when children are then informed, they are able to make informed decision, they are able to make informed contribution as to what should be allowed, what should be and what should be stopped. So the right of children to be heard is not just limited to them speaking, but they have to be able to be informed or equipped with knowledge. They should be informed about what climate action is, what climate change is, what global warming is, and how it has changed the situation, the environment, and how it will affect not just them, but their children, particularly because the effect of climate change is not is intergenerational, and it is cross boundary. So if I am educating children in Nigeria now they know that they can advocate, or they can even institute an action against a corporation in the US for emitting gas. And they have the legal right to do that, or the legal grounds to do that. Why? Because the effect of greenhouse gas emission in the US or in Ghana, that is not Nigeria, their primary place of residence, would affect them, because there are no boundaries to the sky that prevents emissions from, going across border. So children have to be informed, and we have to put them in roundtables, get their feedback. What are the what contributions do they need? Do they need, or do they have to make? We have to also give them provide a platform for them. Now, other rights that are affected, I know I mentioned the right to education, right to play, right to cultural life earlier, but I will try to elaborate it. Haven't mentioned the 4 basic principles or general principles under the UNCRC. The right to education. I gave an example of how there was flood in Nigeria, and that it is not an isolated case. There are several hurricanes around the globe. There's bonfire around the globe. These affect the education of children. And how? Because schools are being demolished, or schools are brought down by these disasters. Children do not have access to school. Some of them that have gotten certain qualification in the hurricane and in the flood, their documentations are lost. They are not there. So there are, and also the effect of these hazards, it distorts them psychologically and mentally, that they may not be able to bring themselves back to the place where they want to educate, go to school or to be educated. And sometimes when they are ready to go back to school, you see that they have grown, they have become maybe adolescent or become young adult. They may not want to go back to where they were before to continue education. They may feel like going back to school is something that is beyond their level. So this is how the effect of climate change and environmental hazard affects education. Now, the right to play. Children are children, and they should be allowed to be children. But climate change has affected the right to play. From the example I gave before, again, the flood, the hurricane, and all. Now, playgrounds are being destroyed, and things that are familiar with are being destroyed. Now, if you go to certain environment, I'm going to use Port Harcourt in Nigeria, for instance. It is safer to keep your child indoors because there is soot outside. Now, the weather is so black, like you basically see darkness when you walk out and you see clear space, but in Port Harcourt you see dark air. And that is the air that children are being exposed to. So a person that is conscious of the health of their child would not want to expose their children daily for years to soot, to breathing in substance that is unhealthy to them. So now they become indoor. They don't have interaction with the sand. They don't have interaction with clay. They don't have interaction with the soil. They are indoor. They are not able to explore and experience or have the full experience of being a child. So their right to play is being hindered and limited because of the hazardous environmental hazards going on. Now, the right to cultural life. When effect of climate change destroy our history, it destroy our culture. When the elders in the society, for instance, are trying to regain their life, they're trying to regain their land, they're trying to rebuild their houses, or they're trying to feed their children, there is no longer time for folk tales, for elders to be able to by word of mouth transfer culture that was given to them, by their parents, or by their parents. Also, sculptures, work of art, and heritage that represent our culture, our cultural identity and historical identity, are being destroyed by flood and hurricanes and wildfires. So these are children, when they're now born, they miss out on their cultural heritage. They do not know what was before them. Then the last one is freedom from torture, cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment. Now, exposure to, well, it is a legal argument that exposure to lead and greenhouse gas emission is a cruel, inhumane, and degrading treatment, because human beings are supposed to breathe in oxygen in its pure state. Human beings are supposed to drink H2O, water, in its pure state. But now we are confined, and children especially are confined to drinking water that is contaminated, breathing air that is contaminated. They are very vulnerable set of human beings. Their immune system is not yet stable and is still developing. Their brain is still developing and is not yet stable. So if as children they are exposed to all this hazardous substance, it becomes torture, because they do not grow to their full potential. They do not have access to food enough to feed themselves to grow to their full potential. I said earlier that their mental capacity is affected. So it becomes torture. That is an argument that is ongoing, that exposing children, exposing people in general, but we are talking about children, exposing children to torture, to the effect of climate change, to greenhouse gas emission, to plastic. These amounts to torture. Now, on children being held, I would like to commend because I went through the general comment, general comment 26, the UN general comment 26, and this is a phrase I got from a child. What he has to say is that the environment is our life. Adults should stop making decisions for the future they won't experience. We are the key means of solving climate change, as it is our lives at stake. And in truth, this is very true. Like I said, the effect of climate change that we are seeing today is not as a result of activities that happened last year or last 2 years. This is a cumulative effect of activities that have happened centuries and years and decades ago. So the activity, whatever we are doing in this generation, it has a transgenerational effect, and has more effect on the children, on the generation, to come. So it is high time we put children on the table. I'd like to commend the children, or the children that are here, and I also want to commend the people that are here, because we are children conscious. We are conscious of how climate change and environmental hazards would affect our children. That's why we are gathered here. So it is of a truth that they have more tools than we do. So while corporations and we are bent on, making profits, we are bent on build mansions, we are bent on establishing factories and achievement and leaving our name on the sand of time, our children today would live to the negative effect in the near future. So it's high time we brought children to the table. It's high time we educate them as much as we know, not to hide the truth from them. Let them know the implication of things that are being done to the environment now, and let them know so they can make informed decision. This has to do with, we're talking about the right to be heard. So we let them know the effect of climate change and how they can advocate for them, for themselves, which is high time we brought children, to the table. And that's a brief summary of that's the end of my presentation. I would like to present this is Government Secondary School Ogoja Environmental Health Club that was established on Monday, the 6th of October in Koshuan to today's event. We had several meetings, and then this club was vetted. And today, in order to honor the day, they had a cleaning session in school. They went to the neighboring school to clean the session, and this picture exhibit members of the club in this particular school. And this is what they have to say. They said a healthy environment is a healthy environment, healthy children, and they're wishing all of us a happy environmental health day. Thank you so much.
Oh, Mary Rose. Thank you for that important yet very heavy information. And I do indeed wish that we had more children sitting in this session today, but it is a good start. And we all here, I know we're here because we care for children. So thank you again. And you got a heart from some children in there, so they maybe agree with some of what you said. So I will now move on to our next presenter, and this is Nsedu Witherspoon. I hope I said that right. And I will say just a little bit about you, Nse. And I'll leave the rest out, and please do fill in what you would like to say that I won't say about you. So Nse serves as the executive director for the Children's Environmental Health Network, extending partnerships, organizing, leading, and managing policy, education training, and science-related programs. And for the past 23 years, Nse has served as a key spokesperson for children's vulnerabilities and the need for the protection, conducting presentations and lectures across the country. She leads in the field of children's environmental health, serving in the external science board for the environmental influence on child health outcomes. That's ECHO. And a few others. And she also co-leads for the Healthy Science Initiative of the Cancer-Free Economy Network, and co-chairs in the America the Beautiful for All Coalition. So Nse has done a lot. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to post the bio on here that I have. And Nse, because I want to give this space for you to speak, I will stop there and welcome you. So you have the podium, Nse. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's an honor. Thank you for that very kind introduction. And Mary Rose, that was absolutely wonderful. I think you're in the DC area, you were saying right now. So if I got that right, so we should definitely connect at some point. I'm also Nigerian. My father's from the Ibibio tribe. And I am the mother of 4, which is probably my hardest and most rewarding job. So this is very personal, as well as it is a personal passion of mine. And again, happy Children's Environmental Health Day. I have to say, every year with growing crisis moments and challenges, our team does take a step back and say, should we be so celebratory on this day that we created almost a decade ago for us as the champions in this field to take a moment to just breathe, assess. This work is extremely hard, challenging, emotional. We are all seeing the impacts of environmental injustice every single day at this point, as well as now the implications from climate change. And then we just shrug that off and say, unfortunately, children are being harmed each and every day. And as long as I have air in my lungs, I know I want to be a part of advancing that. In order to do that, we need all of us as champions, and we need to grow this network. We need to grow this movement. So we are going to take this day to celebrate. It does not take away the atrocities that continue to happen, the many ways that the rights of children, the basic rights of children are denied each and every day globally. And so I'm very proud to be a part of this Children's Environmental Health Network. I consider it more of a service than a job, a calling, if you will. And so we are seen as leading the children's environmental health movement, at least in the United States, and we're very excited to have a part in helping to grow these connections on the international level. And we predominantly do our work in science. We promote the science in the field, help to fill the gaps, but most of our work is in translating lived experiences, people's lived experiences every single day in conjunction with available data. There's a lot of science to show everything that Mary Rose talked about and more, that we are past the point of having to justify action. We need to actually just do what we know we need to do. And so just to make sure we're on the same page, I think we are. Why do we focus on children? There shouldn't even have to be a need for an organization that puts the health and wellness and safety of children in the core of our work every day. But sadly, even in the year 2024, that is all but true. It's the air, the water, the food, the built environment structures that children spend the majority of their time in, our homes, our schools, our childcare. They can be conducive to health and well-being, and unfortunately, they can be very negative in the natural growth and development of our children. And again, why children versus adults? We care about everyone having these exposures. Let's not forget women who become mothers, who are incubating. The first environment is the womb of a child. So we know that what grandparents are even exposed to 2 decades before, 2 generations before, is also showing up as far as biomonitoring in their grandchildren. Children are being born pre-polluted. So you don't even have your first breath yet, and your body is already having these various harms. It's their little developing systems. It's their behavior, as Mary Rose said. They should be able to be children crawling around, being curious. They put their hands in their mouth as part of that exploration. All of that puts them in harm's way. Again, reproductive health is extremely important. So the children, when they're here, yes, but we need to go way further up in our development and make sure that all people, especially women, are getting the support that they need to have the healthiest pregnancy, and even before becoming or thinking about becoming pregnant. And there is a wealth of science, again, and lived experience to show more and more connections to harm during pregnancy and negative birth outcomes and negative childhood outcomes, and eventually adolescent and adult, just because of those primary early exposures. We know that 1 in 4 deaths globally among children younger than 5 are associated with polluted environments. That's non-negotiable now. We even have the point where some death certificates for the first time are actually acknowledging the death of a child not being an event over here that had no direct impact. Environmental exposures are now being credited, sadly, for the harm all the way to death of a child, an innocent child. And here, certainly in the United States, and I know globally, environmental injustice is at the forefront of everything that we do. No group of people, regardless of their economic or social class or other disproportionate margins of error, should suffer disproportionately from environmental hazards just by living in the places that they live, being born into the families they're born into. That is just not going to work for us. And these disproportionate burdens, again, are heavily documented. There's a report that I wrote here with Jackie Patterson of the Chisholm Legacy Project, named after the first African-American congressional member in the United States who also ran for office of the presidency. And we talked about how this endemic is impacting Black, Brown, Indigenous children the most. So we care for all children, and it's not lost on us that our most marginalized are feeling the brunt of this. They're feeling climate change the first and the hardest, and they're feeling environmental injustice the first and the hardest. Our definition of syndemic is at the economic not investing, in our children from day one. The COVID-19 pandemic being one example of a display of how the disparities were ultra clear, and who got and who fared the worst, and who still is reeling from the lack of education for a long period of time, for those disconnections, for all the economic stress on their families, and all the many indicators that was just mentioned, and of course, climate change. And this is available for free. We know that 40% of school-age children and adolescents have at least one chronic health condition. And what we also know is that at least 25 to 30% or so of those chronic health conditions have a direct link to environmental exposures. So it's, again, non-negotiable that environment is impacting our children's health. We're past that point. 34% increase in childhood cancer rates since 1975, the year I was born, and steadily increasing. Never has this dipped. That is not genetics. And it's my understanding that cancer rates as a whole are predicted in the African continent to multiply significantly in the next decade plus. Again, that is not genetics. There are other elements that we are being exposed to that we are not controlling that are having huge harm on our current and future generations. Asthma, respiratory illnesses, we don't have a handle on this. There are many reasons for them. Environmental components, polluted air, a big part of it, and neurodevelopmental delays. Talk about the stress on our education system. If you have your school today, because it's not dealing with flood and wildfire and high heat where you don't even have enough air conditioning to open school for the day, what about all the other exposures that you're now exposed to over the time of your learning and development just by being in a place where you're supposed to be to advance yourself? That is also causing harm. Our schools, our indoor environments, and learning disabilities are on the huge rise. So I talk about this a lot. This is our North guiding star. When I start to see that these chronic illnesses reversing, that's when I'll know we have started to finally make our paradigm shift that is necessary. All of these are going the wrong way, and they keep increasing. The WHO and UNICEF and many global entities have also been very clear, along with the United Nations and others, that air pollution and other vectors of exposures are indeed, again, impacting pregnant women in particular and the short and long-term life of a child, which is making their lives so much harder than they have to be. Again, childhood cancer has been on the rise, and what we do know is that most common impacted leukemias, brain and central nerve, and lymphomas have high connections to environmental exposures. Leukemia being the highest in the United States among Latin children, for example. We know that also poverty rates are a big part of this connection. 1 in 5 families that receive a cancer diagnosis among their children are living at or below a poverty rate. And so it's not just the diagnosis itself, it's the incredible amount of trauma and economic strain. What about who stays home from work? Not every employer is as understanding to give you a year, 2 years or more off so you can care for your sick child. What about the economics of the cost of cancer treatment? And then, of course, all children are more predisposed to other forms of cancer just by being a survivor because of the high dose of chemicals that they also have to receive in their cancer regimen and treatment. So we're in this interesting situation where we need treatment, and of course we need modern advancement in medicine today. And what if we go much further upstream and prevent major forms of cancer diagnosis in the future by not even having to have children and families suffer through all of this? So we are part of the Childhood Cancer Prevention Initiative. We're just trying to prevent childhood cancer. It doesn't get more simple than that. And we're a big part of trying to make sure that we are a strong voice for the environmental connections to cancer, not waiting for hundreds of thousands of more children to be diagnosed, but to really address these exposure issues now. And this is a report that we wrote, that we released, I believe it was 2022, also during the COVID pandemic, where we talk about existing science that lifts up the connections to vehicle air pollution, pesticides that are on our fruits and vegetables and used indoor spaces, athletic fields, outside, and paints and solvents, which points to occupational exposures, most likely through parents, as being the major pathways of high risk for cancer. We're also part of the Cancer-Free Economy Network, where again, we're trying to change the total trajectory. We need treatment. We're not saying we don't need cancer treatment, which is huge money and has a lot of funding and support. No, not many people are talking about prevention. We're always talking about a cure, which assumes you already have it. What about preventing it in the first place? I'm trained in public health. That is my primary goal and objective, primary prevention, which means you don't even have diagnosis in the first place. So we're bringing together sustainable business, healthcare professionals, researchers, youth community leaders, to all child health advocates, all together for the first time to talk about the economic drivers to cancer, which again, sadly, is big business like asthma and upper respiratory, and how we are also very dependent on the production of fossil fuels, which also has gotten us here with all of our negative health outcomes. Lead poisoning is the oldest children's environmental health issue. We've known about it for over a century. We know the major routes of exposures, and yet we are still trying to deal with reducing high blood lead levels in children, which again alters their brain function forever. And it is a huge cost for our nations, for our world. This is from a few years ago, so I imagine this is still higher, whether it's water exposure, old paint, products, soil from when lead was in gasoline and leaching into our soil, and in many parts of the world still in gasoline. And I say every day that climate is the biggest children's environmental health issue. It is the umbrella issue to all the other ones because it exacerbates and makes worse these routes of exposures. You are increasing air pollution. You're increasing water. Look at the wildfires and the storms happening. Every time you have debris and factories and industries being destroyed, homes and buildings being destroyed and all those things in it, all of that contamination is going somewhere through every single major storm. And we know that these are interlinked crises, right? Climate change didn't just come out of nowhere. It's very much connected to a range of marginalization, racism, class oppression, and other systems of inequity, where those are the communities hit hardest in the first. That's also a big part of why we see climate migration from the southern tier coming into, for example, the US. And there's all this big discussion about in our presidential election about our borders. Well, this is a climate mitigation issue that's been going on for a very long time. When you have drought, when you have flooding, you cannot cultivate seeds, you cannot feed your family, you cannot have a job. And of course, in desperate times come increased crime. Yes, you're running from all of that. Those are desperate situations. No one wants to make that kind of move or migration. And they're happening all over the world. Climate change, housing insecurity, water insecurity, economic, healthcare, I'll even say childcare and school insecurity on a regular day. And as Mary Rose mentioned, when your regular form of your schedule, children need a schedule. They need to be nurtured. They need to have a sense of support. When that is just blown up in their face, their homes are destroyed. They don't know where the next meal is coming from. The school that they love, the friends that they'd like to see, the place where they can be innovative and creative is gone. And you don't know when that's going to open again. That's very disheartening and extremely traumatic, creating a lot of stress and anxiety for children and their families. So as Mary Rose said, I think she said it very well, I don't have to dwell on this, many casualties, injuries, trauma that children are facing. And if they're able to keep their lives through major weather events, what about the mental health concerns? That's certainly not being discussed enough. There are ripple effects to seeing all the type of tragedy that they're seeing, the losses that they are experiencing at very young ages, and many of them over and over and over again. So some of the ways that we're also trying to help, we launched the Eco Healthy Childcare Program. There's been a lot of stuff, well, not enough, but there have been enough studies done to show us the same type of things we're seeing in indoor environments in homes and occupational places and K-12 schools are certainly being seen in our early learning spaces where children are supposed to be cared for before they even enter a school building. So in the United States, we have anywhere from 300,000 childcare licensed facilities. They could be in the basement of a church. They could be in a strip mall. They could be, most of them are in homes, private homes, which are also acting as small business. And what we do know is they are carrying a lot of exposures that these providers and these owners have nothing. They don't know that they're even exposing themselves or their children to. So our Eco Healthy Childcare Program has been running for almost 15 years. We're trying to train and educate early learning professionals. We've also trained healthcare professionals over time on low to no cost steps that they can take to be a champion in this industry, this small business industry, predominantly led by women of color, to be change agents and to also share with their families that they're serving the changes that they're making and why. We also build in energy efficiency, no idling policies. A lot of people come, they leave their cars running if it's a hot day to keep the air conditioning on or the heat on. All of that times many cars times twice a day is a problem to the air quality of a facility. There are just simple things at times that cost nothing but policy and determination. And when they can change out their flooring, and when they can change out their furniture, or they can think about the cleaners that they're using to clean a facility, which can also be laden with these chemicals, there's many cumulative ways that they can take steps on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis, and we provide the technical assistance on how to do that and how to prioritize that. So all of our materials are very low cost. There's no cost other than a $30 for their training. And that's very typical for providers. They have to get their licensing and keep their training up. So we stick with them. We have things translated into Spanish, but we need to have other translations for our materials, of course. And we have a range of resources on our website and available even to be mailed out if that's helpful. Again, schools are a big part of our work. The places where children spend the majority of time, we're going to spend a majority of time. There's a lot of problems, starting with the US, of history of segregation and lack of funding. And that has continued into even 2024, where some of the same high-risk communities that have an array of different social concerns have schools that are barely to be kept open. The maintenance is awful. The ventilation, air quality is awful. And they are getting the worst of the products laden with the highest amounts of chemicals. So that is not lost on us. And this type of equity is also a driver in our work. So we do a lot of our work in collaborations and networks. Clean Water for All, we are working to just make sure that there's equal access to all forms of water, drinking water, recreational water, any use of water, and making sure that those piping and those aging systems are replaced in a way that it's equitable and not causing further harm for anyone, especially a child. The America the Beautiful for All Coalition is probably the biggest, if you will, conservation movement that the United States has ever seen. That is totally different than traditional ones. Traditional ones have not been very inclusive. They have not had people like myself or indigenous leaders or, at times women of different cultures at the forefront. We are doing this very differently. We've been working with the current Biden administration in the United States to advance pretty egregious goals, at least protection of 30% of lands, water, and ocean by the year 2030. And to make sure that we apply a Justice 40 lens, that at least 40% of those protected areas are actually tracking and measured to benefit the most marginalized, again, the hardest hit, those who have had least access to green space and all the benefits from it, of the most marginalized in our communities. So we have incredible goals in front of us, and we're not shying away from it. We believe that this requires direct and urgent and very specific action. We're also a founder of the Climate Equity Collaborative. So we're working to bridge the connection between children's environmental health, climate justice, and climate change overall. We don't see enough of this being discussed. Health was just inserted into the conversation within the last decade or so. The vulnerable population side of the climate discussion is still lagging desperately, as Mary Rose mentioned. It should be a no-brainer that everything we do, all policies, all public health standards that are established, all major decisions, have at first the what will this do? How will this impact children? How will this impact pregnant women if we move forward with this? How do we adjust this so that this is not continuing to perpetuate climate implications, but rather reducing them? So we're working with a wide variety of sectors, higher education, health professionals, and we're trying to lift up programs that have already been working and doing well at their community level and magnitude, really raise them to the level of a national or global level to be replicated. One of those programs is the Break the Cycle of Climate Change, which we're excited to be a part of. It's built off of the Break the Cycle of Health Disparities program that's been running in the southeast portion of the United States for close to 20 years. This is a mentoring program. So to Mary Rose's point about on-ramps and providing support for our students and our youth coming behind us who are eager and anxious about their futures and have a lot to share and a lot of innovation. There's a lot of cross education there that can happen when we have our youth at the table with us. So we're working with different colleges and graduate programs and community programs. I've served as a mentor for this program. Do you have a mentor? You have the student as the mentee. They're working on a climate justice related program that a community organization has lifted up as a priority for themselves. They have a culminating conference where they all present on what they did that actually is helping work at the community level, and then they have a peer-reviewed joint publication out of it. It's one of the best trajectories that I've seen where you're introducing this notion of environmental justice, climate justice, and making sure that you give opportunities for students to see themselves, to see their professional growth and development, and to have a different lens of the world, no matter whether they're an engineering student, a medical student, working on city planning. We need all of the above. So I really highlight this as a fantastic program. And there is now a Break the Cycle of Africa that just launched in April. And we're also looking at other places like Mexico, and be happy to go into other countries as well. So happy to talk more about that with anyone who wants to learn. So in summary, I know I need to wrap up. It's Children's Environmental Health Day. This is a day of action for and with our youth. This is also a time for all of us to leverage the good work that's happening. Not always, you always hear negative work out here. There's amazing partnerships. There's amazing groups. You've heard just about a few today that are putting the needs of children first. We're so much stronger together than we are separate. Voters, elections matter. So we have a voter guide for all types of elections to think about at least 6 areas of children's environmental health that could be brought up when looking at candidates, getting them on the record, or a future leader of any locality all the way up to a national office. And there's lots of ways you can connect with us, and we have different ways that we have the patron that talks about advocacy opportunities. We have a weekly communication that goes out that talks about research and other things happening that may be of interest throughout the course of the year. So we invite you to join this movement. We are trying to grow a global children's environmental health movement that is at best a strong communication platform where we can do what we're doing here. What is happening? Where are ways we can support each other? Where are our challenges? Even though we have different political structures and other things, we have many more things in common. We all are working to educate and advance this notion of child health protection at all costs to anyone that will listen and move them into action. So I know that Nathan and others put some great points in the chat about what this global movement has the potential to do. But I know first we need to grow it. We need to have people who want to come and start, joining regular meetings so we can start listening first to what is happening to our colleagues around the country, and also think about ways where we can align and strengthen our voices together. I won't get into all this. There's many steps that we can all take individually. It's one thing to promote to our policy leaders and our health professionals and our other influencers what they should be doing. We also need to look at ourselves. How can we step up reasonably in the way that we conduct our lives, in the way that we move around, in the way that we spend our money? There are lots of ways that we can at least test homes and schools and childcare to find out what is their lead rate. Do they have radon that could cause cancer? What about air quality testing? It's important to get a baseline of where we're starting from so that we know how we can make some changes into the future. And plastics, that's a whole nother discussion. Let's try to reduce our single-use plastics. Let's try to reduce, this waste. It's all connected. And my call to action would be, let's consider a global children's environmental health network where we can assess our needs together. We can communicate and have a strong communication plan with key influencers that will be meaningful to our collective work. They may all be the same, but maybe we have a collective communication toolkit that we all pull from and contribute to. Let's think about engaging in the places where children spend the majority of their time, their learning environments, their childcare, if that is set up in places, definitely schools, even colleges and advanced study. And let's talk about how we can continue to be the frontline champions for this intersection between climate change and climate and children's environmental health, leveraging this because it's not being discussed enough. So thank you so much for the time. I know I went well over, so sorry about that. It's a pleasure to be with all of you.
Well, thank you, Nse. That was beautiful, and again, that was loaded. And yes, with more time, obviously, there's much that we can, spread out and work on, and that's what we're hoping for. Looking at the global CEHN and how we can move these conversations forward. So thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes. So now I think we are going to move on to the next session. We are a little bit behind time, but we're doing what we've done, and what we're doing is what needs to be heard and needs to be done. So this is good. We will move on to the question and answer session. And this, I want to see if Matindi, you are there. If you're available to lead this session, I can work with you if you'd like. And as I hand it over to you, my only request is if you can please give the space for comments and questions to children that are here or parents who have children with them right now who may have something to say or ask for the children, like any question, any comment from the children. But I'm handing it over to you, Matindi, if you're there and available.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Nightingale, for that. So I want to begin by saying that commending our speakers today because they have done an incredibly amazing job on the topics of discussion today. And I want to begin with Mary Rose, where she said that we need to have the best interest of children as a primary consideration. So that really caught me, and I also had this thought and or imagination when Nightingale you were taking us through the first segment of of this session, and I thought about how it would be if no one had taught us how to be stewards of our future, or even lead or teach others, or and even our kids about what we are supposed to do to get that safe future for all of us. And I think that was a very good moment of introspection and realizing how education, how inspiring others to be active agents of change, and how important that is. So moving on, I in particular I liked what Mary Rose said about the role of civil society, in impacting the decisions, the policies. And from a point where I stand as an activist, I would for sure say that we need to hold our policymakers accountable of any wrongdoings, and these. Advancements, these negative advancements that jeopardize the survival, health, and life of our kids. And hello, I'm having a little bit of network. My network is a little bit shaky, so in case you lose me, just tell me, Nightingale, on the chat. Yeah.
Will do. But we can hear you just fine right now.
Okay, thank you. And then I also like the fact that Mary Rose mentioned of the right had in matters concerning kids, and also she went ahead and mentioned on the right of to cultural life. So again, doing an introspection, I thought about how norms, the values, and the ways of life, and how this has impacted me as an individual, and how it would impact our kids in regards to environment. Because thinking deeper, I think I'm thinking about how my grandparents helped me shape the environmentalist in me right now, and the role of culture, or the ways of life, the norms, and yeah, of these kids, and how it could impact the way they regard their environment and their health in the future. So it begins again at the cultural level, at the way of life, the way we take our kids through their life, and so on and so forth. So my first question to Mary Rose is, I think it had been asked in the chat box and I wrote it down. So someone asked whether it is right to say that children's right, is it right to say that children's right to play is also affected by urbanization? So that is my first question to Mary Rose. And then the second question is that how can we ensure that children's environmental health rights are effectively protected and enforced in a marginalized and vulnerable community? Because in such a context, we would think it's right to think of the people who are really affected disproportionate, in an unjust manner to the others, because we wouldn't say that the people or the kids living in an urban setting are affected the same with the kids who are living, for example, in semi-arid or arsal areas. So I think Mary Rose, you can start by addressing that before I move to Sedu. Thank you.
Maybe before that, Matindi, I just wanted to take a quick step back and see if we may have something from the children. And then after that, we can do these questions from the other people. So
Oh,
I
thank you.
know that's put us back a little bit, but because I know we have children, I saw at least 3. I wanted to see if that might be, you know, children, you're there. Do you have anything to
Yes.
say? Any comments?
Someone here has a question. Introduce yourself.
My name is Ella Gibb. I'm in 2 West. I'm asking how can I be in a part of the environment change?
So I think Leah, I missed the child's name, but she's asking how she can be in a class of climate change. Is that right?
Yes, she's asking how she can be part of the change because she's been listening in to the conversation. So she wants to know how can she be part and how she can involve some of her friends. She's very excited and she really wants to be part of of championing.
Well, I'll just jump in and say yes, yes, yes. And I also didn't know we had children on. This is fantastic. And I think however we can do that, whatever communication is best, I think we'd love to just first start with staying in connection, learning more about some of the concerns that you and your friends have, so that we are providing an opportunity to hear consistently from our youth and make sure we don't get too far ahead of that and make sure we align and we're working together on what's most important to all of us. But I think just starting with joining just like we're doing here and making sure that moving forward, we make sure we have all your contact information and anyone else who'd like to join this conversation. And maybe in a future call, we allow you all to lead a segment on some areas that you'd like to hear from or learn more about or see as some of the biggest concern in your communities. Those would just be some of my thoughts.
Okay,
Yes,
thank
and-
you.
Yeah. Let's see if any other kids are there to say anything else.
This is Kitty in California. May I ask the children if there are activities they are already involved in that they can tell us about?
In environment,
I'll give you introduce.
I am Ella Gibb. I'm
Very environmental.
in environmental lab. St. Mary's Primary School.
Thank you. And may I ask Margaret Mururi if she might want to share about the environmental club that I believe she has in her school?
Well, I guess maybe I don't know if Margaret heard you, Kitty, but okay, yes. Margaret, you're unmuted. Please speak.
Sorry for joining the meeting late, but I'm happy that I find you when you're not done yet. So I would want to first listen to what's going on, and then I'll have my comments. Thank you.
I think, Margaret, the question was, Kitty, maybe you can repeat your question to Margaret.
Hello, Margaret.
Yeah, I did. I did hear the question.
You're welcome to share later if you like, but Nightingale had shared with me that your school now has an environmental club for children, and I'd like to know more about it.
Oh, yes. We do have an environmental club, which is very active. For example, today we planted trees in 2 schools, and they are really excited about this, and they love doing this. We planted some fruit trees like oranges, mangoes, and avocado. And the ones we planted last, they are doing well. And since we didn't have enough, today we added to what we had planted. They're very interested in the environment, and they have learned quite a bit. Nightingale has helped us come up, and we've been planting trees and also cleaning public places and planting them not only in our school, but to public places too. So they are very excited, and they like to go to places where we can even join with others and do it together. Yeah, I would say right now, we have some that are boarders in this school. If they knew this was going on, I think they would be mad at me to know that there is this and I have not informed them. So we do have a few on campus right now.
Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome.
Thanks. Over to you, Matilde.
Yeah, thank you, Nightingale. So before we move on, I would like Mary Rose to respond to the questions that I had asked earlier. Mary Rose, please.
Thank you so much, Matindi. Your first question is a very direct question. You're asking if urbanization, is affecting or affects the right to play. The answer is straight on yes. But then it's tricky because it could be yes and no. If you go to some urban setting, the structure of it is that there are certain places that are put as playground and all. But this playground, how are they structured? Are they laced with, like most, I have a playground close to myself here, and it's laced with loads of plastic, loads of pens and coloring, less clay. So it depends on who I'm giving this answer to. To someone like Night that is very attuned to nature, she would like to see some grasses. She would like to see some sand. So she would like, so in that instance would say that urbanization, it restricts the extent to which children play and the access to which they have the natural resources to play with. So they should have access to natural things that they play and they interact with, because it also helps with their development. So instead of being exposed to plastic. Meanwhile, some other urban places, there are places that are very strict and they don't have playgrounds, or you go to some offices or some setting and it's just houses and roads and there's less trees. So yes, it kind of reduces the right of children to play. They are now restrained to playing with toys in houses that, well, they may be effective, but it has restricted children's ability to interact with nature and the environment. We are talking about children environmental health. So the environment is not the confines of the four corners of a wall or the four corners of a house, but it goes beyond that, to the entire climate. I hope that answers your question. So it's a two-way thing. I would say yes, to the extent that some places do not have playgrounds or recreational facilities that children would have access to. And I would also say no, because even if they have recreational facilities that children will have access to, it's kind of limited. There's a structured way they imagine that children should play, and it limits the extent to which children are able to express themselves as children when they play. Your second question, if I understand you, is that how do you enforce a healthy environment in marginalized society? Am I correct, Matindi?
Yes, you are. Go ahead.
All right, thank you. So in my presentation, I talked about one of the four principles is the right to non-discrimination. And while explaining, I will refer to that again in answering your question. The right to non-discrimination says that there are certain class of people, or there are certain people that climate change and hazardous activity affect more. And this includes children with disability, children in marginalized communities, and because that is where most companies go to establish their factories and their industries, and that is where there's like major pollution. And if you trace from incense reports that she gave us, if you trace, the people with more health issues come from these communities. So now, how do we enforce a healthy environment in this area? First of all, is knowledge, advocacy. Like they should be informed about the direct consequence of establishing these industries in these places. Some people, if you go to them and you suggest that, okay, I want to bring Shell BP now, for instance, in Nigeria, when it was coming to Nigeria, it was a thing of politics. It should come to my community. It should come to my. So some people, they struggle for this industry to come without having full knowledge of the direct impact it will have on the community, not just in that generation, but in generation to come. Secondly, if we are able to also, it still falls under education, but if we let them know that there are certain incentives they come with, they'll say, okay, if we establish this industry here, we'll give 20% of the employment to the people. That is not enough. If we educate them to the extent that we tell them how the effect of industries established is transgenerational, they would know that the salary you will collect for the next 35 years is not enough for you to sell your cultural heritage, for you to sell your environment or the environment that your future children or your children will stay in. So I will hammer a lot on education and also calling government into account. Periodically they call out for writings or documentations. We have to form organizations in these places where they front their problems and align it to climate change. Most people they know they have problems, but they do not know that the source of their problem is climate change or the effects of greenhouse gas emission in their surrounding. They know that their children are falling sick more frequently. They know that they lack access to certain resources, but they are unable to link those problems to climate change. So I feel like education will play a major role. When people are educated, then they're able to speak up. They're able to advocate. They're able to hold people to account on these specific issues. I hope that answered your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mary Rose. If I may add, I wanted to mention about or shed some light upon the impact of urbanization to, the children's health. We all know that urbanization, to a big extent, impacts our environment, our nature negatively. It actually threatens existence of nature within our urban settings. And we all know, nature, especially to kids, can, because we know nature provides that calmness, that tranquility, and there's that peace that comes with being in nature. So I think urbanization affects the ability of these kids to actually experience the peacefulness, the calmness, and the nature therapy that comes with being exposed to nature. Another thing, on the question number 2, on how we can ensure that children's environmental health rights are effectively protected and enforced in marginalized areas, I think when it comes to action, there are some of these guiding principles, especially because this is a crisis. In these recent times, climate change is a crisis that we should tackle. Like it's an emergency that we all need to tackle. And addressing children environmental health should actually be guided by these principles that guide a call to action when it comes to emergency response. And I think taking these people as giving these people first priority when it comes to that is also very key, just as you said, Mary Rose. So I want to move to our second speaker, who is I don't know how to pronounce that name. You'll have to forgive me. Sorry. But I heard Nightingale say Sedu. Is that okay? Or Witherspoon? Let me use Witherspoon because that is more comfortable with me. And thank you so much for shedding extensive or expounding extensively on how we can protect our children from environmental threats in a changing climate, or basically a call to action. And you reminded me of one thing that is very important on how on how the World Health Environment Organization, no, WHO, which is World Health Organization, as a very strong agency working under the United Nations, what it said, or the information or the research that they said. And they said that climate change is the single most dangerous threat to our health, or in other words, it's the greatest health to human health, and in this context, the health of our kids. And moving to the next thing that I wanted us to address is the question number 1 on how we can ensure that the children in vulnerable communities, because that is kind of my area of concern, how do we how do we get these children the support and to and also ensure that they are informed on what they need to protect themselves and their families from environmental threats that jeopardize their health as kids? Yeah. And then the second question is how do we as Global South, especially because I know most of the quorum is made up of people from Global South majorly. So how do we as Global South rise above the challenges that we've all been seeing for quite a very long time? Lack of finances. So how do we rise above this challenge that we keep talking about of lack of finances to address the issues head on matters to do with children's environmental health? So I want to pose those questions to Madam Witherspoon, sorry, and then we'll receive other questions from our listeners. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So on the youth side, I think all far too long, and this is globally, youth have not been at our tables, right? And I see a vast change happening, and it's been wonderful and it's necessary. And that's the only way we're going to advance the way we need to, because unfortunately, these challenges, the range of challenges that we've talked about today, did not happen overnight. This is decades and decades and decades. And, I hope I'm still alive to see, like I said, at least the paradigm shifting. The only way we can do that is by our youth being here and knowing that we have their back. Because right now, I've got a 21-year-old and an 18-year-old, a 14-year-old and an 8-year-old. The older ones especially, they're feeling the weight of their future. It's very hard for them to think in their 30s, their 40s. What is everything going to look like? What about the families they would like to have one day? What about their economic stability? So we have to have them with us. So their lives are a little different. Their schedules are a lot different as students. We need to, I think first about how can we accommodate like the voices we heard today. It was wonderful. The times we're meeting, the times we're coming together, making sure we don't set agendas without them being part of setting the agenda with us. So I'm talking about active, true participation, like really, and I think we can showcase this. I'm not saying it's not being done. I'm just saying it's not being done enough. There are a lot of youth-led movements, right? But there's a range of, we're giving an award today to a 10-year-old who is just an amazing, so these leaders are emerging, whether they want to or not, because they feel they're reaching the moment that they must reach. They need to know that we are there with them. So I think, first of all, we bring as many as we can in a real, sincere, genuine way. We think about how we come together, making sure we're not doing the adult thing, setting things and setting schedules and setting times that's conducive to us. We need to turn that on its head and make sure we're doing it for what's conducive for our youth to even be able to be here with us. We need to actively listen. I think do a lot of listening. What are some of the ideas you have, if any? What are you hearing? What are your biggest concerns? Because that can help drive. We have a range of issues, but where do we start? How do we prioritize? And what may work for the US is not necessarily going to always work for the other, so by the feedback we get, by the ways that we work with the youth that are as close to our communities as possible, that is the value add, I think. So it's the strategy. It's making sure we're intentional about the strategy and consistent and continuously showing up for our youth as we hope that they will show up for these movements, because they're going to have to be ready. Because as we know, we're leaving them a hot mess. We're leaving them things that they should never even have to worry about. And so how do we do this in a way where they can still be the children that we've talked about? Hopefully. It's different than my childhood for sure, but how can we still protect them in their childhood right now while they're also serving in this very big role as leaders in even their youth? So it's coming together, inviting them to the table, doing a lot of listening, and together cultivating these solutions that we want to advance. Let's make sure we as a network do not advance anything that we don't have the sign on, the support of, the yes, that's the right thing to do, without our youth voice as part of that. So that might seem obvious, but I just want to be very clear on that. And then the second one I also see as an engagement. I have not seen any movement myself or read about in history, a movement that's been successful without it being as big of a tent as possible. We are not going to make the kind of progress that we need to make in the most robust way by just talking to some of the same sectors. So some of the traditional ones show up: policy leaders, healthcare professionals, other community leaders and influencers. I'll also throw in funders, right? A lot of us have to be funded for our work, and historically, funding has been very siloed and it is not supported. It has actually been fragmented in us working together. I'm only funded to do this, so I can't come together and talk about a network that's also working on a comprehensive. What about the economic drivers, like you were saying? So where are our economists at our table? What about health economists that can help us quantify and help us build the economic case to any of the issues we talked about today? We have the health data. We have even justice data. We have some of the existing statements, policies, international law, laws, recommendations to lean on. We have these rights of children that we know are not being sought after. So at least in the US, when we add the economic side of it, unfortunately, sometimes that becomes the weight. But I would say that it's the multidisciplinary way that we come together. I see a big global children's environmental health network that has subsets of work happening. Maybe some folks really are gravitating around plastics production. Maybe others really want to talk about curriculum development and reaching our schools. Maybe others want to talk about reaching policy leaders. And either way, getting those folks together, all having youth involved in all of them. And we learn from each other, but that way you can work on things that is conducive to what you think your community needs right now. And what are some of the perspectives you could use that could help you in your campaign work? I know I could use health economists. I could also use some engineers and some city planners who are thinking about the next era of design of our communities, but don't have public health trained people or child health advocates at their tables, or climate. advocates at their table. So I hope I got to your question. I think it's similar to the first in that we have to be very intentional about not talking to the same people. We have to invite in other disciplines because they all have a role here, and we can learn and benefit so much from their expertise and their experience. And what I've also seen is when you go together, nurses together with youth, together with impact community members, together with policy leaders, coming together to talk about whatever the ask is of the audience you're trying to reach, it's received much differently when you have members of the community who are not obviously paid by industry or have any other motivation, only to contribute to having a healthier community for us and our children in the future. And when we allow our youth of this movement to also speak with their voice, just like our young sister just did, I don't know any politician that wants to be on record saying that they don't want to support what a young child is trying to say. That's also backed by the rest of us. How can we continue to support our youth, putting them first and making sure that we have all the other experiences? We don't have to exhaust ourselves and have everyone, but let's make sure we identify key areas that would be meaningful for all of us in our different parts of this world that we want to work on, that we need to work on, that our communities expect us to lead on. And let's also think about who else, whether it's us or others that are not here yet, that can be beneficial and helpful. So I hope that helps a bit.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. I want to hand it back to Nightingale, and maybe she can take us through some of the questions. Sorry, some of the questions that I have not seen, or maybe so I want to welcome Nightingale back, and thank you.
Thank you, Matindi. And thanks for all the feedback that we have received so far from our presenters. So two things. I would like to call upon Rehema. Rehema is 10 years old, and she sent a message and said that she had something to say. So Rehema, are you there? And are you able to speak? Rehema, are you able to unmute?
Hi.
Hi, and welcome. Please share what you have.
What I
And
was
if you
gonna
want
say,
to say a little, if you want to say a little bit about yourself, that's okay. But yeah, continue, Rehema.
all I wanted to say was that I'm at a school that also helps with nature stuff.
Thank you for sharing, Rehema. So you said you are at a school that helps with nature. And do you want to say something or share something that you did today, or that, do you have a question, or is that all?
I did tree planting.
Thank you, Rehema. Thanks for sharing. We appreciate you. So I also wanted to call out to Simon Masago because I saw that you had a child with you, and I don't know if there's any comment or question, but I just wanted to give you this space a little bit if you would want to share or ask a question.
On me, this is a good network and good relationship on how we are going to protect the nature and also to protect the children, because this is what we are prioritizing. And for me, I just comment good because this is the first time I'm coming to a conference like this, and all that have been said, it is good.
Thank you, Simon. So I apologize in advance if I don't call on you, but I want you to know that we're running behind time, but we're also having a really important conversation. And I want you to take this moment, and if you can raise up your hand using the raise hand app, you do that. And if not, just send a message on chat. But I want to call on two people in case you are able to say something, because I know about the work that you're doing, and I wanted to see if you had either a question or a mention. And I know that Elizabeth Kimani, you're doing a lot of work when it comes to nutrition, climate, and other things, especially within Africa. And I wanted to see if you had something to say. I also know that there's an event that's coming up about nutrition. And so I wanted to give you some space in case you can speak. I do also want to call on Deo Okure, who I know you're doing a lot of work when it comes to air quality. And so wanted to see if you have something that you would want to contribute. Now, that being said, I know we have other people who are doing amazing things, and that's why I want us all to please come in and make those contributions if we have them. But Liz, if you can speak, and then after you, Dale, if you have something to share, just giving you this space.
Yeah, thank you so much, Night, and everyone who the presenters. That was really great presentations. I learned a lot, very insightful. Yeah, so I appreciate this initiative, really great. We know that our children are really very critical. They are very vulnerable. They are often the most exposed to the environment because they spend a lot of time in the environment. They interact with the environment a lot, and so they really get exposed, and we need to protect them. They also do not have a lot of power to protect themselves, and so they rely so much on what we do, how we protect them. So it's very important that we think about how we protect them. And in this context of climate change, really, I remember the question around play and all that. With all the heating and sometimes a lot of flooding, really that affects how they actually interact with the environment, how they enjoy their lives, and so really violating kind of their rights. And these are man-made kind of climate impacts, like man-induced kind of climate change. So really, there are a lot of things that we can do to kind of prevent this impact on children and the exposure that there is. And I really appreciate what Mary Rose and Nsedu were talking about. So I won't talk much, just to say that, yes, I do a lot of work related to food systems, nutrition, health, and climate change, that interlinkages. And in the coming week, on the 16th, we are celebrating the World Food Day. And we will be celebrating the right to food. The theme of the World Food Day this year is about the right to food. So really, it's about human rights, and we are talking about how this the right to food and the interlinkages with the issue of environment and climate change. So really, very relevant. So we'll be having a virtual option. I know not many people can attend physically, but we also have a virtual option. So we'll share with Knight or Nathan to see how people they can share with the people here and they can participate virtually. But I know Matindi will be participating physically. So thank you so much, and all the best, and thanks for inviting me.
Thanks a lot, Liz. And yes, we will share the link with others. So I will move on to Dale. If Dale, you're available and able to speak.
Yes, please. Hi. Hope you can hear me.
Yes, we hear you clearly.
Yeah, I was really comfortable in my corner just following in. I didn't expect to be called on to contribute, but I will do that anyways. Yeah, thanks again. I'm glad to be part of this conversation. My exposure to environment health is very now limited to air quality, so it's always good and urban health. In the urban spaces, so it's really always refreshing to hear different perspectives when it comes to environmental health. I think I'm reminded today by some of the quote. I think one of the quotes I had a while ago that when mothers decide to take matters in their own hands, I'm paraphrasing it, that you will not be able to stop them. So I think I do love this approach. I'm particularly impressed by the fact that we have children joining the call as well, so kind of really being part of the conversation. I think what I always like to encourage, of course, it's a big fight, but what I always like to encourage is kind of utilizing our individual spaces, our comfort zone, to kind of champion some of these causes. I was impressed by the environment clubs at school, because I think that is where you're going to find school children, right? That's where you're going to find them. So rather than trying to, develop outfits outside of the existing learning ecosystem, why not go to school and kind of have it that way? So that is the only way you can reach out more effectively to the school community, that is including the children and parents and teachers. So I think I quite like that, and just to say, continue the good work, and hopefully we can make the future better for the children and our children's children. Thank you. And I work in equality in Africa, and still another big problem to tackle for the continent, which is heavily marginalized in terms of resources and other aspects of environment and climate health.
All right. Thank you, Dale. And so I'm going to now go ahead and I see that there's a comment from Ella. Ella, who is the little child with Leah. So Leah, if you can have Ella take the stage, please, and share.
I have learned that it's a right to have a clean place and a healthy environment to stay in. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ella. We really appreciate you sharing, and we are so glad that you and the other children are here today. So yes, thank you very much. Let's see. Okay. So now I'm going to hand over to you, Nathan, so that you can take us through the next session.
Thank you, Nightingale. And just a request, if you can post in the chat a bit about the next steps and also the calendar for intergenerational climate action, or CICA in short. So I just want to share 3 things. It'll hopefully just take several minutes. The first is to do a little bit of a rewind to August, a couple of months ago in Nairobi. And individually and collectively, just want to share deep gratitude to NSE and CEHN for helping to lay a foundation that's, I think, played a fundamental role in bringing us together today. I want to shout out Nightingale, Mary Rose, Amanda, and Dennis. So if you 4 don't mind, or you 2, Amanda or Dennis, if you're in a position to come off camera, Looks like Amanda might not be here anymore. She was here for some time, but we were together in Nairobi, and we had a meeting where we talked about the Global Children's Environmental Health Network. And so just my own thoughts is that we need to have strong leadership. We need to have continuity. We need to help to distribute the load, because what we're looking at is at a global level, ensuring that every child everywhere has their right to a healthy environment actualized, that it's not just collecting dust on a shelf as a piece of paper that sounds nice. This needs to be something that, again, every child everywhere knows that they have a right to a healthy environment, clean air, clean water, and healthy food. So I believe that it is up to us as advocates for children and youth to ensure that this right is actualized. So just want to, again, thank you, Nsé, and encourage Dennis and Mary Rose, Nightingale, Amanda, together with several others who are connected with us in the virtual space, to keep actively discussing what's next steps we need to take to ensure that we really expand this to a global level, and that we open up spaces like this for dynamic idea exchange, education, inspiration, and then we get to work on the policy level and at the community and organizational level. So the second point to mention is regarding the calendar. And so we want to try and ensure that this momentum is maintained and even accelerated. So looking ahead, we mentioned a couple of upcoming dates that are important within the next week. On October 16th is World Food Day, and Liz, together with APHRC, the African Population Health and Research Center, they are holding an event that will plan to share at least on WhatsApp, because earlier there was a WhatsApp group that I shared a link to join. Nightingale, maybe you can reshare that as we look to closing, so that we can continue being actively in touch with each other. But at this space where we'll plan to share the link to join virtually, they're going to talk specifically about the right to healthy food, which is vital and essential in ensuring that the right to a healthy environment, which includes food and nutrition very much, is actualized. Then we have One Health Day on the 3rd of November, and One Health, for anyone who's not familiar with that terminology, is looking at human, animal, and environmental health together. And in particular, we're looking at how children feature in this discussion. And one way that we can bring it somehow close to home is to look at the relationship between children and animals, whether they're pets or they're wild animals. That this is a way that we can really invite children to be centered in this discussion of thinking about animals, the ones that maybe they love and have in their home as part of their family, but also wild animals that are actively threatened and even on the verge of extinction because of actions that we are taking collectively as human society. Lastly, November 20th is World Children's Day. This day falls in the range of dates between the 11th and 22nd of November, which is when the United Nations Climate Conference is being held, or COP29. So this will be in Azerbaijan, and several of us are planning to attend in person and to actively plan an in-person activity in Azerbaijan and also virtually to celebrate World Children's Day, and in particular, the necessity that we link child health and child rights with climate action. In short, children need us to act now on climate change. So more to come there, but really invite all of you who have shared this space with us virtually today, which we are deeply grateful for, that we maintain this momentum, we keep the discussion going, and we think about how we can have an even bigger and better events in a little over a month for World Children's Day, and more specifically, looking ahead almost 1 year, that we try and stay together to ensure that 2025, the Children's Environmental Health Day, that we, again, do even better and use this as a foundation to launch. The last point to make is related to research that's in many settings, being able to quantify the impact that interventions of this sort have, where we do the interdisciplinary framing, linking children, environment, and health. The reality is that much of the research that is out there now has not used that framing, and it can be challenging to get funding to get that kind of research looked into. So what we are planning as a COFI is in approximately 9 months, tentatively August of 2025, in Narok, Kenya, which is very close to the world famous Serengeti and Masai Mara National Reserve, that we're planning to hold a conference about health and environments in Africa, and to have one of the research tracks focus specifically on children's environmental health. And so just wanted to shout out again, Simon. I believe that you come from the Narok area, and we are planning for this conference to be very much action-oriented, child and community-centered in the research questions that we look at, and also identify gaps and opportunities in the existing research as it stands now. So those are just a few next steps, and again, want to thank you all for joining us and challenge you, invite you to lean in, to step forward and ensure that we do right for the children. That's, at least for me, was a powerful inspiration to hear the voices of children in our space today, and actually even look at concrete ways that we can have the Global Children's Environmental Health Network even have a dedicated space for children to lead, because having these discussions, not just about children, but actively with children, I think is the best way forward. So thank you all again. And back to you, Nightingale, maybe to see about how much time before we close, and maybe also wanted to see Dennis in particular, if you would like to share something, because we really appreciate the work that you're doing in Rusinga, and how much we've been able to build from that time together in August, and sharing what a framework for action for the Global Children's Environmental Health Network looks like. So maybe over to you, Dennis, and then Nightingale or Mary Rose, if you have anything to share. I know we're looking to connect with Nsé soon to see about the next steps and way forward for GCEHN. Thanks.
Thank you very
Yes,
much, Nathan.
yes.
And so, thank you very much, Nathan. Thank you, Knight. First of all, I'm also very, grateful and excited to be here, and really very inspiring to hear from each one of us. Nsé and Mary Rose, thank you so much for sharing. Ideally, today we were celebrating Children's Environmental Health Day, but of course in Kenya we actually have it's a public holiday, which of course is called Mazingira Day. Today it's a day which has kind of mutated, because initially it used to be Moi Day, and then it actually changed to Utamaduni Day. And, now with the current government, it's actually Mazingira Day. So us in Rusinga here, we celebrated today by doing a cleanup in just one of our fishing villages just next to us where we live here. And it was actually amazing. It was amazing. And, we had people from different parts, different stakeholders. We actually had children in one of the local schools, which of course is an environment club. And they were here to, work with us together. We also brought on board, community health promoters through the Department of Public Health, which of course really plays a very critical role. They were here with us, and we really had a very good time, clean up and, and just having conversations about, matters health and of course children. We also brought the local administration, both from the national government and the county government were here. And again, also the fisher folk. We had the fishing community where, sorry, I think Knight and Nathan were here. and you've been to the place here. So they were also part and parcel of this cleaning, and lots of things. Something which I really want to share about the kids, and especially the environment club. Initially we had a small budget on how probably we could be able to support this. Then unfortunately we could not be able to get funding to really support the day. But really, like I think yesterday I was a little bit skeptical whether to call this off or what. But then what surprised me today is that most of the things I requested to be actually supported in terms of cleaning tools like rakes, like gloves, things like this. And what really amazed me is these kids from this school really came very prepared. They actually had their local improvised rakes. They came with local improvised brooms. They came with of course, which came from the Department of Public Health were just gloves and of course the masks. Most of the things they brought with them, and it was very exciting. We had lots of conversations with them, and even listening to them passionately talk about the change they want to be, and you seeing them moving out there and collecting trash and putting them somewhere and burning them, and it was very, very inspiring to me. And really I was left challenged that there is so much which sometimes we think that we have solutions to, and yet if you give space to the community and these children specifically, they can share with you a lot that sometimes even as parents we don't know. So I think really the space which we need to actually create is just to amplify these voices and see how it is important for them to really have I wish we had the Environment Club team with us here just to also experience this. But really it is something which it's a journey we are starting, and we want to continue with it. Our vision is to get out there and work with the children in schools and plant more trees and just make their environment habitable and clean for them to thrive. So I'm very excited to be here, and I really want to thank you, Anunse, for inviting us in Nairobi together and also coming up with this small team. And really, I am so grateful for this. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dennis, for sharing and for even the work that you did on the Rusinga side. And yes, we continue being empowered, and for sure we continue working together. So thank you so much. So we are very, very much over time now, and I realize that it's really time for us to close. So what I would like to do is say a big thank you to all of you, and to say that we are going to stay a little longer because we still have several people that did some amazing things, like I said, just like what Dennis did, and with his team. And it would be nice if whoever has time, if you can stay over and we listen to what happened or the conversations that might still be there. So, but I'm wanting to officially call this meeting closed so that we can release those who must go. But really a big thank you to all of you, and to say that this is really just a beginning. If we may call it, it's a continuation for those who've been doing this work, and we are in this together. So you'll be hearing more from us, and definitely more about the global children environmental health work that's going to continue. I think Nse needed to drop off. I'm not wrong. Nse, are you there? Nse, I think Nse has dropped off. Yeah, but we still have Mary Rose with us because I see that so yes, now I just want to say, if you need to go, please feel free to go. And if you have something to say, please stay and share with us. On to this, I do want to go to Mr. James Olekisier, who has asked a question here for his son. And this would go to you, Mary Rose, plus someone else who would want to give feedback. And the question is, what is the difference between global change and climate change? And then also the other thing is, can you develop a climate change curriculum or subject for young children? So yeah, I will go ahead and first of all, see if there's someone who wants to leave and before they leave wanted to say something. If so, please just unmute and speak. If we have more than one person speak, then you guys will have to just give some space. And then after that, we can have that question answered. So I'm opening up the space for you who wants to leave and wants to say something.
Hello, I want to say something.
Yes, please, Mr. Kroma. Welcome from Liberia.
Yeah, very long time. So glad today to be with you people. First of all, to inform you, I got married 2 months ago to a beautiful wife. Okay, I just want to share that with you. The second thing is, so I'm so thrilled for this idea of children environmental health, which is a good awareness. Like today in our modern dispensation that is full of rapid technological ideas, it's also exposing children, to so many things that they are involving unaware. Like the gadget we use, the phones, the effect of them for exposing it to some children, the sound also that we all around us. These are all things that are also going to affect the children, because you are in certain area like in Liberia or Monrovia, say, most time people play music very loud. You go to even and the hearing, the vibration, it's also going to affect their ears. So I'm so resonate of this idea of children environmental health program, which I would love to be cascade to us here so that we can pass it in the community to even involve our community health workers, that they can share the information to prevent those kind of things. So I'm so delighted to be with you people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kroma. And yes, indeed, we look forward to continuing this engagement with you so that we can really table these issues that are cross-cutting in all regions in different ways. So really looking forward to continuing the conversation, and a big congratulations on that big achievement on your end.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations, Roma. We miss you in Liberia. We need to come back soon and reconnect.
Yes. Thank
you.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't know.
Okay. So thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else wanting to say something before you head out? Oh, Mr. Kroma, there you are. Good to see you.
Yes. Here's the madam.
No, my brother.
My people there.
She brought from Kibon.
Say hi.
Hi.
Hello. Good to see you.
Hello, Ma.
Thank you. I come here, Brady. How are you?
Thank
all
you.
is good.
Yes.
We thank God. Thank God for life.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so good.
All right.
Ready?
Thank
She
you.
brought
Thank
from
you.
Kibon.
Yeah.
So I would like to check and see if anybody else would like to speak before you head out. Say something. All right. In that case, I would like to go
So,
ahead to the
sorry, I
question.
know Kitty had said she needs to leave soon. So, Kitty, in case you would like to say anything before you drop.
Yes, I would just like to say thank you very much. I think my favorite thing, it was wonderful to hear the voices of Rahema and other children here. And I look forward to working with you again in the future. I can't help thinking about when we were thinking about the all of the negative aspects of climate on children, I think we also need to think about the negative aspects of war. I was thinking of the children in Gaza and in Lebanon now, and it's something for us to think about. Thank you.
Thank you, Kitty. And thank you for bringing that to us about war and the importance of peace and what peace really does for all of us, or the absence of war. So, and thank you for the continued work for the work that you have continued to do for children and for families. So, next, Mr. James Olekisier, I know you have this question. Did you want to say something also?
Thank you, Nate, and all our friends across the world. It's only my son wanted to say hi, maybe to you, about the question.
Hello to my name
Hello.
is Karino Kesier. My name is Karino Kesier. I am happy to climate change. Thank you.
Okay,
Asante
so
sana.
thank you so much. Yeah, yes, he wanted just to confirm that I've forwarded his question about the difference between climate change and global warming. So I think plus his brothers here, they are also here, and they are very appreciative. So maybe, hold on.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hello.
Sova, Sova. That's hopefully,
Yes,
yeah,
so
that's
this is a young boy, a brother to Carino, and he's very much appreciative. And he greeted you in Maasai local language. And also he has a third son, third son, the brother to Carino also, between Carino and Liango Toto. So he want to also to say hi to you.
Hi. Hi to you.
Super.
Super Leng.
Hello. Super Leng.
Je m'appelle Franco Kesier.
That's French.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you so much. I very much appreciate it because Tangau, the son, is a polyglot. He likes many languages, Maasai, French. So he is good environmentalist. I'll post his photos when he normally plant trees. Today he managed to plant about 10 trees, indigenous trees, combat climate change. Thank you so much.
James, just want to encourage you. We work together closely with all of them for World Children's Day on November 20th. Let's be sure that we reconnect and have many children sharing many ideas and also learning more about these questions that they have.
Yeah. Okay.
Dr. Nathan?
Yes, Groma.
Yeah, so my son, you remember, he wanted to say something. One time yes.
Okay.
Yes. Hi, I'm Elijah. Yes. Yeah, you guys are talking about some effects in the community that affect the children, and I have some things to add up.
Yes, please.
Yeah, like some people in the community or the environment who abuses and say other things that stay in the child's ear or that can lead something dangerous to the child ear. Yeah, it's not a good sign of the children. It may not be a good way to bring them up, especially in those critical areas that you see people who rape, people who taking drugs. Yeah, it may not be good for the child coming up in that way, because coming up it may affect them in a bad way. Yeah, that's what I gotta say.
My man, I hear you. Oh, we need to fix that problem. So we need to work together. And thank you
Yeah.
for sharing. We have a lot of work to do. So let's keep connected and fight for the positive change for the children.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
all.
you, Elijah. And like Nathan said, we will for sure be reaching out to Mr. Krumah so that children like you and others can also be part of this conversation. So thank you so much, Elijah, for speaking up.
Thank you. You're welcome. And also, I want to say thank you for you guys bringing up this opportunity to help us. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And you're welcome. So anyone else who would like to say something? It's really an open forum. I do want to call on Nabil specifically because I know that you were part of spearheading the event that happened yesterday by the Masai Mara region. And so I don't know if you are able to speak, but in the event that you're able to say something, please do feel very welcome to say something or share. Okay, I'm not sure if Nabil is able to speak, but yeah, I called on him because I know he was part of that conversation. I don't know if I see Nikita here. I see Mason also, Teresa, and Hillary. Angela Aquare, James Dabalen. So if you guys, anyone wants to say something, please feel free to come on and share. As well as Margaret. But really anyone, in case I missed someone, I just want to be sure that it's open. It's an open forum for you to share. Does anybody have something else to say?
Okay, I have
Let
something
me
to
share a bit.
Okay, just go ahead.
Yes, so Angela Aquare, I think I saw that you were there, so we can have Angela. I think I had James, and I saw Leah, and then after that we can have Olekisir because I think you also had your hand up. So yes, please, Angela.
Okay, hello everyone. I'm called Aquare Angela. I'm a Teach for Uganda fellow. As a teacher fellow, I've been working under vision that one day children in Uganda will have access to quality, equitable education. But it was really amazing to say not about joining this wonderful meeting. And it was my first time to hear about children having a right to a LSA environment. I'm really appreciative and I'm ready to work out with you and I'm ready to learn new things from you. I really love it. Thank you.
Just want
Thanks
to
so much.
briefly respond to that, Angera and Mary Rose, Dennis Nightingale. Feel free to share your thoughts about this. So we do have a dream that Africa can help to lead the way relative to the rest of the world for launching this global children's environmental health network. We are pushing hard in Kenya. That's where our Akofi team has a strong footprint, but I just want to shout out a few other African nations represented here. We have Nigeria, we have Liberia, we have Uganda. So this is a specific way that we can actually step up and move quickly, is to look at within our own countries what organizations are active, what people within our network are passionate about the nexus between children, environment, and health. Then I think we can do it. There's nothing stopping us. You heard today from Sedu. She's the leader of the Children's Environmental Health Network in the United States, and they're committed to launching this to the global level. So now I think the ball is in our court and it's just up to us. So really want to invite you, Angera, invite you, Mary Rose, invite you, Chroma, representing other countries in Africa. And I know South Africa also with Amanda and Joyce. They have a very strong foundation on which to build. But to me, this is a call to action, and I think the time has come for us to act.
Thank you, Nathan. I want to call actually to do a quick skip. Just let me call on Matindi because Matindi would like to drop off. So there's this question that had been asked that we were going to have Mary Rose and others respond. And Matindi, before you drop off, I wanted to see if you can give a response to this question by Carino on what is the difference between global warming and climate change. And then can you develop a climate change curriculum or subject for young children? If you could please touch on that before you step out.
Yeah, thank you, Nightingale, for that question. I actually wanted to raise an alarm because I realized that question was going to be unanswered because it seems like everyone almost didn't hear the question that kid posed. But in a layman's language, in the simplest way I can phrase it, I would say, global warming is a situation that is induced by human beings through the activities that we do, such as burning fossil fuels or burning waste, for that kid to understand. So burning plastics, cutting down our trees, what else? But majorly releasing fumes into the atmosphere. It somehow brings or causes a blanket to be formed on top of our Earth's surface, making, it's like a blanket. And because the sun's rays are supposed to hit the ground and then reflect back to the atmosphere, then that doesn't happen, and it leads to a situation whereby the greenhouse warming, the gases are trapped, and also the sun's rays. So that causes a situation known as the greenhouse warming effect, and that is what causes a climate change. And when climate change happens, then our natural ecosystems are affected. The food production, the natural hydrological cycle of the water sources, and so on and so forth. So I think I have answered the best way I know how to. And thank you so much for the question. Oh, sorry, I almost forgot to mention that when climate change happens, then it impacts the weather patterns that we used to experience, long before that. So we find that there's a shift in the weather patterns. For example, if we used to have regular rains in a span of maybe 1 year, or after maybe 4 months annually, we get a situation whereby we are getting no rains for a very long period of time, and then maybe get so much rainfall within a very short period of time, leading to environmental catastrophes like flooding and droughts. And now these are the impacts of climate change that we keep talking about. Thank you, Nightingale. On climate curriculum for the kids, for sure, that is a work in progress on my personal end. And I also have some other people who I share that idea with, and we are developing a kids curriculum. I think it's almost halfway, and then, well, once we are done with that, then we can be able to roll out a program for for dispensing that curriculum to kids and educating kids on environment and climate education. Thank you, Nightingale.
So I just want to build a bit on that. And Rehema, if you can share about this topic, we have an artistic exercise to connect children and climates and communities. So this is something that we're interested in seeing how to launch it, maybe to art teachers in schools, or even in a virtual setting, where I'll be happy to share the artistic results of this exercise. But Rehema, if you can share anything, and then I see Neville, we'll go to you, and then I know James. But I just wanted to mention, together with the curriculum, I think it's important we also look at art, and we do have a pilot that is in the early stages of being launched. Rehema or Fatili, can you share anything about the 10-step process?
I guess, but Tom's not here.
Okay.
So the 10-step process is an art project that I did with my mom, my dad, and my brother. It's about like seas that represent different things, and yeah, that's all I really have to say.
So children and climate and communities, and we have the animals and the fish, and some about the climate, where we show like the greenhouse effect that Matindi was talking about. So again, something that we want to see about making it accessible to children and make it even fun and hopeful and creative. So more to come on that, but excited to see how children produce art that connects themselves to climates and their communities. Maybe Neville, then James.
Hi everyone, thank you so much. It has been such a lovely time, and I've just had great topics. So I think on our end, I have teams of teachers, I think from the Mara, and I've been hearing people sharing about what they do, and yeah, the subject of children, and it's something that is of a big concern, and I'm very interested in the same, because currently I'm really working so hard, to impact the next generation of conservationists who are coming into space. So in Mara, we've really done a lot. We've done a lot of artwork. I think that's something we're working on currently. There's a lot of artwork, and just recently our students in Mara participated in, I think, Elsame Conservation Trust environmental competition program, and in Nakuru County, I think they emerged the best. So it's something that we might be looking further into. We also have environmental clubs that are doing a lot, not only in terms of maybe doing cleanups in the market center, but they are also getting out in the wild to interpret and understand nature. At the same time, they are now expanding the scope to do even to incorporate technological aspects to monitor wildlife in conservancies at the club level. And I think we were discussing with the Knight Tango to maybe now start thinking of setting up health club in schools, the health and club something in school. So I'm very interested to see how we can really make this come to practical. And we are also running field school programs. So maybe if there's any school that might be interested, this is something that we can sit down and talk and see how we can make it more practical, especially for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nabil, for sharing. And again, if you can please thank the children in your community, in the Masai Mara community that did amazing work. And we will be sharing lots of photos that we received. I already received photos from you. We'll be sharing these photos in our social media and maybe within the report that we share with this team that's on here, so that you can see the good work that was done and that was done today by children under the guidance of Nabil and others like Simon Masago. So yeah, thank you. I also want to say welcome, Mr. Alexander. We are kind of towards the end of the session. We had great conversations, and you'll be most welcome to come in and say something when you get a moment. But I think now I will hand it over to James. James, that was James that wanted to say something. If he is still here.
Yes. Thank you for having me here, and I'm grateful to join on this discussion. My name is James Dabalen, and I'm from Kenya, specifically from Marsabit. And I'm happy to hear about children's environmental health, something that it hasn't been spoken a lot. I think children are taken care of when they are young, when they are not able to do anything by themselves. Once they reach a certain age, they are not taken care that much, and people, especially us adults, we forget to take care of them because we chase on maybe we are busy with the things we are doing, and we forget to think about them. And having such discussion is really important, and I'm really looking forward, especially even in my field, conflict and peace studies. Children are really affected when conflict arises, and also it's something that we need to put much step and really work on it, because children are really affected. They are really vulnerable, and we really need to involve them, as we have discussed earlier, because we sometimes even forget, especially in
Can everyone hear James?
I think it's
No, I'm not here.
became weak, the connection. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's a
So
problem.
yeah, it's okay if he comes back. But I would like to also give this opportunity to Mary Rose, because I think we jumped before we give Mary Rose an opportunity to speak to the question that was asked by a child earlier. So if Mary Rose, you can speak, and also if you have any other insights on top of that. that would be good. Please welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Knight. I want to appreciate the children that showed up later, but I'm glad that they were part of the conversation, that they had, contributions or the conversation, and they had contributions to make. I want to appreciate Elijah. I got the name, and Carino. Those are like the two names I remember. But thank you to every other child. Rehema, I also remember that. That's I joined eventually. So on the difference between climate change and global warming. Sorry, on the difference between climate change and global warming. I'm sorry. I got distracted there. So now global warming or climate change encompasses global warming. Now for the child that has a question, in order to break it down to a level that you understand, I want you to imagine the world or the earth as a room. Say a cold room, you have enough air that would cater for you as the only person there. You have a small vegetable garden by the side where you can harvest food to eat. So just imagine that room as your house or as the world, as a globe. Now in that room, you decide to light a candle, you decide to burn the house, you decide to do things that will cause heat. Now, the room was initially cold, but there are activities you begin to do in that room that makes it warm up, that makes it hot. So global warming is a rise in the temperature of the earth or of the globe. Just as in that room, when you burn candles or you lit fire in the house, the temperature in the room warms up the room. So global warming is a rise in the temperature in the globe, in the earth, in the entire globe. So I wish if you can imagine the globe as a room that is very conducive at first, but then you lit a fire in it. When the heat in the room increases, it becomes uncomfortable. That is what global warming is. Then climate change, on the other hand, is a cumulative effect. That is, it is a long-time effect of global warming and other things. So in the world or in the global space now, global warming is caused by greenhouse. One of the causes is emission. So if you go to a factory, we talk about greenhouse gas emissions. But if you go to factories, there are places you go and you see smoke coming out of huge pipes. There are some cars that are driven and you see smoke coming out of the exhaust pipe. All those things are little contribution, but eventually they cause the temperature of the globe to rise. So global warming is the rise in the temperature of the globe when the heat level of the globe is increased. That is global warming. Then climate change is now the cumulative effect. So if this rise, what does the consistent rise in the temperature over time, what does it cause? So climate change is now the eventual effect, the long-term effect, and it comes gradually. I think Matindi had mentioned flood. He mentioned rain would fall at unusual times. You also see that snow, it begins to snow in places where it didn't used to snow. Then you begin to see that there is protracted heat dry season, like the seasons begins to change. Usually maybe it's rainy season for 4 months, but now it's 6 to 7 months. So the long-term effect of global warming is what is climate change. I hope I'm able to break it down enough for you to understand. Is he still there? Is the kid still there? What's his name? I'm looking for his name. Arino.
Yeah. James Olek is here. Your son is there. Did he hear the feedback?
Yes. And he's very much grateful. Maybe
Hi.
Hi. Hi, Carino. Did I get your name right?
Yes. Thank you.
Good. You're welcome. Did you understand the explanation? Did you understand the difference now between the two?
Yes, yes.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you so much.
Where are you from?
Oh, I'm from Nigeria.
Which town?
Sorry?
Abuja.
No, I'm from Yache. I'm not from Abuja.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome, always.
You are from Yoruba?
I'm from Yache.
Thank you, thank you.
You're welcome. On
Yes,
any other
thank you.
comment? Okay,
Oh,
you're welcome.
Thank you so much because climate change children. I think Karino is one of them. Is a climate change child.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because the environment is now a bit changed. It's not like during our time and actually the time of their grandfather. Because climate change is affecting now children because of flash floods, extreme cold around this place, and diseases. Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Mary Rose, I know it's also time for you to head out, and I wanted to see if you had any closing words before you would step out.
All right, thank you. I wanted to appreciate Angela for her comment earlier. Like it was vulnerable of her, and it was really honest of her to say she didn't know that there was like a right to this, or she didn't know that there's this concern. And my comment is that the starting point is creating awareness. Some people don't know. We are like privileged to even know that there's this problem. Some people know that there is a problem, but they don't even know the word to use, like to tell me the terminology to use to represent the problem. So I'm an advocate for education. Let's create awareness. And then the clubs that are the pocket of clubs that being created in places. If there's a way, like I said, there's a club that's just started in Nigeria. If there's a way these children can connect with each other, have conversation, have online debates on solutions to climate change, or like have online virtual debates to just exchange ideas, it will trigger them to research more on the topic. Children are naturally competitive, so you see them reading up things and searching things that we on our own, if we say want to educate them, we won't be able to give them enough information. So maybe we want to be more on creating awareness, reaching more people, and also if there's a way that these clubs will have conversations with each other, it will be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you
Mary
so much.
Rose.
Yeah,
go ahead.
If you can.
Go ahead. Yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
Yeah, Mary Rose, thank you. I'm Mr. Krumah in Monrovia, Liberia. Climate change is relative to children. What can they do to mitigate climate change as compared to other industrial owners or movers, those who move with vehicles and some other thing? What they can do when we're really going to talk about climate change? Are they the actual focal people to make sure we be able to mitigate climate change? That's why I want you to realize.
Okay. Thank you so much. I think INSE had thrown a bit of light on this particular question earlier, where she said that if children are equipped or they're equipped with this knowledge and they're able to advocate themselves, we support them. We are not like the right people to. I have a light here, but it's going to be really bright on my face. I'm sorry, it's getting dark here. So if we equip children with the knowledge of the effect of climate change and they begin to realize that their future is really.
Got lost with you.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm not hearing you.
Thank you. So if children are equipped with the knowledge of their rights and the effect of climate change, they're able to fight for a position in policy making. So they can talk about, they can influence policies. They can go to COP29 now and say, we want to be heard. This is our contribution. We don't want these things to be done in in these different places because it affects, it contributes to climate change. Now they have a say. So they may not be the one that have the trucks, but they are the ones that are affected eventually by the activities carried out by the government. If we like, it's like us adults now, we are currently suffering the effect of, and it's not so much, but we are currently suffering the effect of what our forefathers did. But it's going to be worse for children in the future. If we had known earlier on and we started having this conversation, pressing for our rights and pressing to be heard, maybe things would have been different. And now we have the international organization supporting children. They've come up with laws saying, okay, let the interests of children be put first. Let the children be heard. There should be non-discrimination in making policies. They are international because even us adults, we realize that the rights of children and like the interests of children are at stake. We are coming up with laws that protect their interests first. So create awareness. If they know, they would hold the government accountable. I'm privy to like several international cases where children took countries like Brazil, Argentina to court saying that they have been violated because of a climate action, to say that their right to life, their right to freedom from torture is being violated because the country did not ensure that it limited the emission of greenhouse gas emission. Limit the greenhouse gas emission within its territory. So first of all, if they are aware, they may not be able to go and build a big fence to stop trucks from traveling. But once they are aware, they begin to put their voice, ensure that policies are made, and hold government accountable for enforcing those policies or implementing those policies. That's like my understanding, and I hope that I was able to.
Yeah, thank you, Mary Rose. Again, I just want us to come back to we from West Africa, you and myself from West Africa, and our culture there. Do we listen to children, actually? Are we allowing children to even sit in our meeting? So it's so challenging. And like you said, our forefather, I think our forefather were preserving the climate, where they were using even their local material to even prepare their dwelling homes with mud, with thatches, and what have you. But today, something has come from other parts like cement, the sand we put together, and so many other things that are contributing to this global warming that leads to climate change. So what strategically or analytically, what can we really do to help minimize climate change when so many things are benefiting the children? We can only feel for them, but they cannot even talk. Like the example you're giving, can a child go and sue other person in West Africa, like Liberia, all of this kind of thing?
So see, it's funny, like, and it's difficult. I'm from, like you said, I'm from West Africa, I'm from Nigeria myself, and it's difficult. Do you understand? But it's something that is doable. It's like it's a process. If one person stands up, funny enough, the case I'm talking about, there is a Nigerian among there were like 17 children that sued these 5 countries, and there was a Nigerian in it. Do you understand? So if children are given the like, knowledge is a weapon. If they are given the weapon of knowledge, if they know that they are able to speak up, now it starts with you, it starts with me.
Yes.
We are having our
Yes.
family meeting. Do I listen to my child contribute? When we are asking, how do we run the house? Do you allow your child contribute? Let's start with that. Because if you allow
Yes.
them to contribute, they will be confident enough to speak up in schools, to speak up in
Exactly.
Zoom meetings like this, to make contributions.
Yeah.
So it starts with us individually in our houses. And then we
True.
educate them, go further to do great things. So yes, children can sue the government and actually win. So
I hope to see that. Okay, thank you.
Great discussion. It's something for us to commit, even if these conversations can be a bit challenging or they are sensitive, even controversial. We don't have clear answers, but at least talking about them and not ignoring some of the realities. Like, I think you're highlighting, Chroma, that's maybe some places culturally, children, they don't have a strong voice right now, but understanding that challenge and understanding what we can do to start making incremental change over the span of months or years or even generations. But if it's not the way it needs to be, it's up to us to make it that way, I think.
Okay. Yeah, step by step.
Yeah. And I see Ole
Uh,
Kisir, your hand is up. And so
Yes, I just want to contribute on children and climate change, because climate change is changing children. So a child that has been changed by climate change is climate change child, climate changed child. And actually, the climate crisis is not just changing the planet, it's changing children. From the moment of conception until the health, child brain, lungs, and immune system, and other crucial functions are affected by the environment as they grow up. Geography does not protect against climate change. It is affecting children everywhere, even actually in those countries like in the US, where Fadhili and Rehema are. Here in Kenya, it's actually, it's extreme. It's affecting children so much. Children like Karino, Tangau, and Langototoko, the young son, they cross rivers when they go to school. Sometimes there is flash floods, and this actually affects so much these children. And I think the world is actually not doing early enough to protect these children, because if you would actually build some bridges and schools can allow children to take heavy jackets to schools, because some schools do prohibit here in Kenya, especially around this place, they do prohibit children from taking strong clothes to schools. During our time, we used even to go with shorts to school. But nowadays, the climate is so harsh. And I think we need actually to change some laws in some of our countries to allow children actually to adapt to this harsh environment and these harsh times. Children actually are not they are not like adults. Their bodies and minds are uniquely vulnerable vulnerable to impacts of climate change like pollution, deadly disease, and extreme weather. So we need actually to come up with some solution, especially laws that actually can allow children to be given strong clothes during the time of extreme temperatures. Thank you so much. And Karino wanted to ask our friends from West Africa, wanted to ask the Liberia friend and Mary Rose from Nigeria about that time. What is the time in West Africa country? Because he likes to know more about the world.
Yeah, what's the time now here? Go look at it, watch it come in. Your friend want to ask you.
All right, I mean,
Hello.
now it's 10 minutes after 6 p.m.
6 p.m. Yeah, it's Sajat again. Sajat again.
Hello?
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah,
The
the
time
time
in
is
Kenya is 9 p.m.
yeah, is 6 p.m. Yeah, 10 minutes after 6.
In Nigeria. In Liberia.
In Liberia. In Liberia, it's 10 minutes after 6 p.m.
Is it raining?
No, the weather is clear. No sun, no rain. It's getting in the evening. Like that. How? Which country?
Here. Kenya.
Which one? Kenya. It's 9 p.m. in Kenya now.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
my name is
Thank you.
Elijah, and you? What is your name?
My name is Karina Kesier.
What is your class? Which class are you in?
Grade 7.
As for me, I'm in grade 10. How old are you?
I am fine.
How old are you? What's your age?
10.
10
years old.
Okay, I'm 13.
Thank you. Thank you,
Which is
children.
the capital city
And-
of your town, your country?
I'm in Liberia.
Monrovia.
Yeah, Monrovia.
Yeah.
The capital.
So children,
Thank you very much.
thank you
And you,
for
where's the location?
Thank you so much. Because the world is actually becoming small. It's a small village now, and it's very appreciative. And in the near future, we can prepare. You talk in a Zoom through their teacher, through their class, and you talk more about how the climate is affecting you in West Africa and here in East Africa. Thank you.
Yeah, I would love that.
Yes. Thank you, Nait.
Yes, you're welcome. And thank you for sharing, children.
So just to briefly mention, Momodou Kroma and James Olek is here. I'll share each of your numbers, if you're okay with that, with the other, so that the boys can continue talking even on WhatsApp or in another space.
Welcome, welcome.
Okay. Yeah, that would be nice. So my son can make his son a friend and they will be talking together. That is also connectedness, and as African children can start to be initiators on the advocacy of climate change among children.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yes, so
Absolutely.
thank you. We appreciate seeing and receiving the number. All right.
Thank you. So I do want to still mention that we do have a few people who are still here who had a chance to say something. And since we're here, like I said, the meeting, you can just step out as need arises, but this is just continued connection. I know we have Alexander Labarakwe, who is here with us as well. So what I would like to say is maybe just, I didn't want to call on you, but I want to just call on you in case you have something. So I want to say, Nikita Gadoni, you're here. If you want to say something, you can. We have Teresa, and we also have Hillary, and then we have Alexander, and we have Gladwell. So if we can go in that order, and please share if you have something. And again, no pressure. So I'm just going by what I see on my screen. I will say, Hillary, Diana, do you have something that you would like to share before we fully close?
Yes, maybe I just want to say hi. Good evening, everybody. My name is Hillary Diana from Kenya. I am part of Coffee. And, I've just been, it's been a good time listening to the kids interact from across the world, across countries from each other. And it has made me want to be a child. I wish I was a child at this time, but it is well. I am a child at heart. I am happy to be here tonight. Today was an important day for us. Yes, as Kenya, as a Coffee, as Children's Environmental Health Network here in Kenya. So part of what we did today, as it was Mazingira Day in Kenya, as well as International Children's Health Day, today we were with Friends of Creation here in Kenya, in Tigoni, Kenya. Tigoni is in Limuru, central region of Kenya. So yes, together with the organization, we went over to a school, Umoja Primary School, which is just here in Tigoni, and we planted trees, had a good time. I think we'll be sharing photos later on. Also, after that, we went to Limuru Children's Home, where we had a good time, planted flowers, planted trees, had fun with the children. And yeah, I think that was the highlight for me. I have really had a good day. We'll be sharing more, maybe photos and more going on. But for now, that's all I have to say. It was nice sitting through the conversation tonight.
Thank you, Hillary. And so glad that you had a good time and made some positive impact with children. So I will now go over to Teresa Auma. All right, Teresa, you can still come in if you get a moment. From there, I would like to go on to Alexander Labarakwe.
everyone.
Hello. I think you might be muted. We heard you and then I saw like you muted by accident. Alex.
Okay, can I go ahead? Sorry.
Yes, go ahead, Teresa. And
can I go ahead, please?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. My name is Teresa Auma. I'm from Mombasa, Kenya, and I work with Poverty Eradication and Sustainable Action Aid. Well, even though my organization focuses on the needs of the elderly persons, there's the other aspect. I focus on people with disability, and I must say that before each and every group that I focus on, there are children. Children come first. Yeah, so I've been so excited to be part of this discussion from the very beginning as we celebrate the Children's Environmental Health Day. And I recognize the fact that children's health in relation to their environment is very important. And we also know that children are uniquely vulnerable to the hazards coming from the environmental effects because of their developing bodies and their behaviors and their nature of always staying outdoors and being closer to the ground always. So as part of this network that I am just joining, I don't know if I should call it network. I must say that we should be on the forefront to at least protect these children from exposure to rates of pollutants. Yeah, so I know it's our responsibility, and that's why I've been so glad to get it from experts. Thank you, Mary Rose, for your presentation. I loved it so much, and everyone else. And I can say that tonight, some knowledge ahead of what I was before I joined this discussion rather. Yeah, and any further let me say, if you guys have activities ahead, we can always collaborate and maybe get to develop things together and achieve a common objective amongst us. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Teresa. And yes, indeed. We are together in this and we will definitely be collaborating. Over to you, Alexander.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
You can hear me now?
Yes, we hear you very clearly.
Yeah, thank you so much, Knight, for invitation. Actually, I joined late, and I was able to follow up on the conversation. Had children talk, contributions from colleagues across Africa and abroad. My name is Alexander, as it was said earlier. I am in Kenya. I'm in Nairobi. I work with the Kenyan criminal justice system. I deal with the children in a very different angle from what is being discussed here, because I understand the children's rights. I protect children. I deal with children in GBV and SGBV cases. And I'm glad today to hear more on children and environment. So
maybe given time, next time we'll discuss a lot when I'm fully prepared on the topic. But today I just want to say, physical environment is the space where the children grow. And we all know how the climate change affects the physical environment. And when we don't have a very good environment, basically the children's health, learning, and behavior are all affected. So I tend to think what you guys, the network is doing is actually to promote a good environment so that we can have healthy children who will be able to learn, and children who will be able to have good behavior, which is not affected by the environment. Thank you so much to hear from you. I'm sure next time when I'm fully prepared and when I join early, I'll be able to contribute. But for now, let me just say thanks so much. What you are doing is great, and may God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Alexander. And yes, indeed, we'll be working together moving forward and having more conversations and looking forward to hearing more about what you do and the contributions that you make towards the well-being and the health and happiness of the child. So let's see, we're really needing to close now, and just wanted to give an opportunity to Gladwell and to Margaret. Atindi, you're here also in case any of you have something that you'd like to say before we close in the next 5 minutes. Gladwell, please. Gladwell, please go ahead and unmute and please speak. Gladwell, I see your hand is up, but you will need to unmute so that you can speak. And as Gladwell unmutes, Margaret, do you have something you'd like to say? Or, yeah, Margaret has left. So I think if, yeah, okay, Margaret, do you have something to say? Okay, so I think Gladwell, if you are able to unmute, please do. And if not, I want to hand it over to Nathan so that we can close now. I think this has been a great engagement, a great exercise. Thanks to all of you for joining, for contributing, for participating, and we are together in this. So definitely more conversation moving forward. I'm Nathan. I am done for today, and over to you so that you can also close us all.
So I think Gladwell might have unmuted, if I see right. So welcome, Gladwell. I'm not able to hear Gladwell, and I'm sorry if there's a connection challenge. I think Gladwell just dropped. So just to thank everyone again, I just posted in the chat the WhatsApp group where we have the Global Children's Environmental Health Network sharing and networking. So please feel free to connect with us there. Otherwise, I want to see Elijah from Liberia and Ole Kisir, your boys. If you guys are still there, what I would like to do is end with a little bit of art and also a specific invitation or challenge. I had posted in the Zoom chats the directions or instructions for creating an artistic representation of the ones that I'm going to show. I'll go ahead and share my screen and hope that this is visible. So these are several pictures, which one is a drawing that I did. The other two are for my kids, Fatili and Rehema. So I'll just scroll through. These are the three pictures together. I think this one on the left is the one that I did. Let me see if I can fix it so that it is more full screen. So it looks like, at least from what I'm seeing, it's not showing the full picture. Apologies for that, but just want to check and see if we can invite children from Kenya, children from Liberia, and other parts of the world to do arts of this type, which helps to promote education, awareness, and understanding about how we are all connected, more specifically the people with the plants and animals and the planet. So these pictures basically are the end result from the 10-step process, where we go through several steps. It's interactive and makes it hopefully easy to understand these connections. So again, let's see if we might be able to have more of that artwork that is available, especially for the World Children's Day in November 20th. So thank you all again. I think that's all from my side. Hopefully ending on a note of hope and encouragement that together we can. In Swahili, we say, pamoja tunaweza. So asanteni sana, thank you all. And we look forward to remaining connected and learning, building, growing, and transforming together.
Olesere.
Okay.
Yeah.
Olesere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Talk.
Hello, I wanna say thank you for you showing it, and we all hear it, and we'll look up to it and see how best we can do it.
Excellent. And I'll share the pictures for your dads on the group that we just created. So I'll share the pictures and also the 10 steps. So please feel free to do that artistic exercise. I'll love to see the results and also share them with Fatili and Rehema, and hope that you guys can connect with our kids, Nightingale and my kids, Fatili and Rehema, and you guys are our future. We love you. We're inspired by you, and we want to ensure that your future is as bright as possible. So let's work together to make that happen.
Okay.
Thank you.
Fatili and Rehema and all our children. Olesere.
Olesere, we will pass that on to them. But thank you so much to you children and to the adults. Asanteni sana na kwaheri.
Ashe ole. Asanteni sana.
Ashe oleng, au revoir.
Au revoir.
Okay, bye-bye. Thank you. I hope for us to be connected. It's been a long while. So I'm glad today we are connected.
Yes. Thank you so much, Chroma and Elijah.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
How am I going to Fedili and Reina?
Yes, we will pass on your greetings for sure.
All right.